Ever since I started dating my girlfriend, Tori, things have gotten weird. Don't get me wrong, she's simply amazing. We always have a great time no matter what, and just talking to her leaves my heart racing a mile a minute. But there is something about her that seems to trigger this recurring nightmare that I really don't understand. Someone suggested talking about it to see if the nightmare would end, or see a shrink to see if something that I'm not understanding about myself. Either way, I can't stop thinking about it. Here's what seems to happen before the nightmare starts. We finally go on a date and try to improve our relationship because we've grown pretty close. We go to bed and I think to myself how life is perfect the way it is, and then slowly drift away to sleep. The nightmare then starts with the fact that I'm lost in the woods somehow. Traveling for a while in the dark, I see a well-lit gate just up the hill. I've never seen this place before, but the mansion that seems to be in a good distance from the gate seems beautiful and inviting. That's when my girlfriend invites me in. I try to ask her who lives here, or for what that matters, does this belong to her? With a creepy giggle, she simply says, "No, my love, this is our home, you know. Now come on, I've missed you." She pulls me along, and I feel warning bells in my head telling me that this is a horrible idea. It warns me that if I go inside, things are going to get worse. I force myself to memorize details such as the car that I somehow have keys to, the sky being pitch black, as if something swallowed the stars themselves and left everything in the pitch black state. I turn around to look and see if I could see the forest that I just came out of, but it too is swallowed by the darkness. The only thing I can see is everything on the property. Anything outside of it seems to no longer exist. I told Tori, "Baby, maybe we should leave." In a demonic voice, she shouts, "No!" I begin to panic more as I demand her to let go of me. "Damn it, Tori! I said let go of me!" She ignores me as I tell her that she's hurting me. She never looks back as we inch closer and closer to this beautiful wooden double-sided door. Their bright wooden color fades to black as I enter. The second I got free from her grasp, I ran as fast as I could, with her laugh echoing. I began to think that I'd escaped as her footsteps started to die down. I feel a sense of vertigo, but I know if I collapse or gag from the nauseating feeling, she's going to find me. It becomes a game of who can outsmart who. Like a scared rat, I hide along the rafters somehow. I can't help feel as if she's the only one toying with me. This is where the nightmare ends, but it doesn't stop here. I only wish it did. Despite the nightmares, Tori and I continued to see each other and asked her for her hand in marriage. That's when it got worse. Way worse. The nightmare played out as it usually did, but things were different. This time, men that I've never seen before chased me all throughout the woods. They tried to stab me and shoot me. Little did I know why. I managed to hold refuge in what I thought was an abandoned home. They stopped looking for me for the second I got in the house. As I started to stand up and get a hold of myself, I looked around and fear turned my blood cold as I realized they baited me back to the fucking mansion in the house. Damn you! I couldn't help but yell out. "Yet it is you who are damned," said the whispering voice. Unfortunately, I knew exactly what it was. It was a nightmare version of Tori. "I'm getting out of here," I said sternly. That's when she showed herself as this large centipede-like creature.
Try all that you like. You won't escape again, but you will be mine.
She immediately tried to attack me and almost took my right arm in the process. The chase began almost immediately. I ran up the stairs until she caught up with me quickly, on her human hands for feet and arms for legs. I jump off the banister as she screeched in anger. As soon as I touched the ground, she destroyed the banister, and I ran into a random room. Barely escaping, I try to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
Then my alarm clock woke me up. I woke up in a cold sweat and had never been so happy to wake up to an alarm clock before. However, as I went to turn the alarm clock off, her voice appeared in my head.
This isn't over.
It said angrily,
I will find you, my love.
It whispered in my head. For the rest of the week, I was on edge. I now knew whatever this creature was had the ability to pretend to be my fiancé. Despite this, years had gone by without a single incident, so I naturally assumed that I was in the clear. Then one day, sometime after we had our second child, it happened again. Same nightmare, only this time, I got brave and challenged the creature. This time, the wager was higher than I wanted to. If, this time, I failed to escape before the dream ended, my children would be doomed to this exact hell that I was in. Clocks ticked on rapidly to mock the fact that I was running out of time and needed to make the choice. I finally agreed, and everything went so quiet. You could hear your own heartbeat. I quickly ran up the stairs, knowing that the front door wasn't an option. I hadn't considered that I would need to save my kids in the madness. In fact, the only reason I knew they were involved was because they both screamed and cried for me. I felt myself breaking to pieces at this, because I knew I had to press on. I screamed for them over and over until finally, I saw a large, detailed door that made me feel uneasy. That's when the fake Tori ran at me. I tried to bash my way into the door, but it was hard to do, as it was heavy. The kids screamed for me again as Tori came closer. And finally, I made a choice. I quickly outsmarted her, cutting my hand in the process. I used a knife on the door as the creature pretended to be my wife, screamed in torture. I stabbed the door several times before it disappeared, and the door was open. I quickly rushed and picked them up. I ran throughout the house as the creature's centipede form came after us. My poor, innocent children screamed and cried into me as the creature's razor-sharp claws grazed my back, sending me tumbling down the stairs. I used my now bloody body as a human shield.
You cannot escape, my love. You will be mine.
She shouted with excitement as she crawled quickly down the now broken stairs.
The fuck I will!
I shouted back. Suddenly, my heart raced more as I could feel the time counting itself down. Tears fell from my face.
This is it.
I thought to myself.
My children and I are doomed to be this thing's plaything.
I shut my eyes tightly as I told my crying children that their papa loves them more than anything in the world. The creature's massive toothy maw was about to clamp down on us. When I saw the part of the house Tori and I dreamt about having, our own greenhouse, I didn't hesitate or even try to make sense. I ran as fast as I could, with my children gripping me so tight that I thought pieces of my flesh would be bruised and scarred. It didn't matter. With the last of my strength, we broke through the glass part of the greenhouse. The creature screamed at defeat as I tried to prevent shards of glass from impaling my kids. It wasn't over. The creature didn't care that it lost and that we won. She just wanted to eat and torment us. What made this endeavor worse was the clock was still ticking. It didn't make sense until I quickly realized the mansion grounds counted too. I quickly remembered the vehicles and tried to run to it. As I did, I looked down and saw my left leg was covered in glass shards.
Damn it!
I screamed as I kept moving. Every single step felt as if glass sheared deeper into my skin and into my calf. It was a torture. She turned back into my wife and walked slowly to us.
Baby, it's dark outside. Just come back with me. We can start over,
She said seductively. I threw my kids into the car as I ignored her. Suddenly, her face contorted into a huge smile with jagged teeth. I know I should have tried to save my wife, but my son and daughter needed me more. Besides, whatever took my wife wasn't planning on giving me a chance to save them at all. I hotwired the car and immediately drove it backwards, slamming the gate open. We barely made it out, but the creature looked amused, as if our fear was more than enough as it watched us drive away. I woke up crying, covered in sweat.
The kids.
And I ran to check on my kids. They were both sound asleep, as I sighed with relief. My wife went to check and see if I was okay. I felt stupid as I talked to her about the nightmares. She assured me that they were just nightmares and everything was okay. She went downstairs to make breakfast. I went downstairs to see her after I brushed my teeth. I was honestly relieved that despite how much the pain felt so real, it was all just a series of bad dreams. As I entered the kitchen, I realized that I barely heard her or any of the kitchen utensils being used. I looked at our family table and saw her favorite cross stabbed into the table upside down. My wife isn't known for her pranks and is a religious woman, so I knew she would never do this. That's when, to my left, I felt a dark presence. It was similar to the creature in my nightmare. My blood turned ice as cold as she said,
Welcome home, sweetheart. I told you that you and I would be together. We will be together forever. And the best part is that now, not even death can tear us apart.
I ran upstairs to get the kids when I realized I never had kids. We were planning on kids, but not right now. That's when the last words I heard were whispered into my ear.
You really shouldn't have moved here. You are all mine now.
And everything since then went dark.
Why do things never go right when you need them? Sometimes that can be fatal. I was trying to get back home after school and couldn't find it. Before long, I just started wandering around, hoping to get out before it became dark. What do you know? It was midnight before I found my house. Or at least, I thought it was. Turns out this was an old place named Missing House. People have gone missing here, and more have gotten maimed, with even more not surviving, even after they went to the hospital. Luckily, my phone had service and battery left. I called the police and told them I was at the missing house. He said they were coming, but it would take them a long time. In the meantime, I thought, well, might as well explore. I looked inside and looked around. Soon, I heard a laugh. And a voice saying, and I quote,
Want to play hide and seek? The rules are simple. If I find you, they won't.
I was petrified and tried getting out. For some reason, exiting was impossible. I was freaking out as whispering came closer and closer. Eventually, I saw 2 legs sliding out of the door. I panicked and hid behind a metal sheet. I heard sirens, which I thought was a good thing. The left direction proved me wrong. The thing said, yet again, I quote,
Found you.
The piercing sound of screaming filled the room as I ran. I remember the talent show that was that day, and I had my wooden battle axe. My part was showing off my war axe skills. I hit the thing with my signature sharp spin. It fell over, and I finished it off with a jumping smash, completely annihilating the thing before it shattered while screaming like 1,000 tortured souls from hell. It said these exact words.
I will return.
The way to exit actually existed this time, and I left the cursed place, being one of the 2 people not to be injured after a visit to the missing house. I was waiting for the police, and they arrived. Asking of any paranormal experiences, I told them the whole story. They took notes, and a report was sent to me after a week. The police had the construction crew tear down the place by any means necessary. It was shown to be gone by month 3. It would be another 3 years until the thing lived up to its last words. But that's another story for another day.
Found you.
It was approximately 12:15 when I entered the Johnson County Community Health Clinic. I was there for an appointment I had set up weeks ago. Just a routine checkup. It wasn't a new place for me. I had been there a couple times before. However, the place had an odd nostalgic feel to it, as if it were a location from my childhood or something, and I could never pinpoint exactly what this feeling was or where it came from. As I walked in, an overwhelming feeling of deja vu swept over me. The hum of the flickering fluorescent light, the white tile flooring, the mute beige paint that colored the walls. I noticed there was a TV mounted in the corner, a smaller flat screen that was playing a short PowerPoint slideshow on loops of ads and events that were being held by the clinic. I passed the empty waiting area, a small area of the main room with magazines, children's playthings, and blue cushion chairs, and approached the woman at the front desk. She was sitting in her bluish-gray office chair, looking at a spreadsheet on the same Windows XP desktop that had been there since 2008. There was a sign-in sheet on the counter in front of me. "I have an appointment with Dr. Pevins," I asked.
What time?
12:30, I replied. She began typing something into her keyboard.
Yes, Garrett Johnston?
She responded.
Yes, I'll tell the doctor. Please fill this out.
She handed me a clipboard which held a simple fill-out form. I walked back to the waiting area, took a seat, and began to fill out the form. I was about halfway done with filling in my information when I slumped back in my chair. I hadn't got much sleep the night prior, and I was exhausted. As I slumped back, I noticed something very peculiar. My head never hit the wall. In fact, it felt like it went in. I got up, quite frightened, and looked at the wall. Nothing. Not a single hole or dent had been made in the wall by my head. So I reached to touch the wall, and my fingers went through it. I recoiled in shock. What the hell was that? I thought, as I reached to touch the wall again, only to find my fingers clipped through once more. Then, suddenly, I lost my balance, tripped, and fell directly through the wall. I fell face first onto some dirty tan carpeting. Upon getting back up, I realized that I was in a completely different room. Well, not really a room, per se. More so a set of rooms, all of which were connected by openings. The walls were covered in gross tan pattern wallpaper. There was also overwhelming stench of moist carpet. I turned back around and tried to put my hand back through the wall, and it wouldn't go through. Okay, what the fuck? I muttered. I looked back into the room. There were no windows, no doors, nothing on the walls, other than that disgusting wallpaper. Of course, it was completely empty, aside from a singular plastic blue school chair. At this point, the only thing going through my mind was fear, and the repeating thought of, I need to leave, on loop in my head. Started running through the rooms desperately to try to find an exit, but to no avail. There was no exit. Was this my permanent location till I die? No, had to be a way out. I wasn't just going to be left here, right? Eventually, someone would notice that I was gone, but nobody did. Then, in the distance, I heard footsteps, but not those of humans, at least not a normal human. Alongside of the footsteps was a gargling snarl, like that of an angry animal. I began to run. I ran as fast as I could for whatever the hell was approaching me. I didn't want anything to do with it. I ran for what seemed like forever, but I was always back in the same room I started in. At least it looked like the same room, not that I could tell them apart. So I sat down, defeated, a feeling of dread filling my body as I started to cry. I was going to die here. I'm still there. I haven't left. I've accepted my fate. In fact, I can actually hear footsteps. I wonder who that is. My daughter died 10 years ago today, on May 23rd, 2012. Around that time, everyone watched 2012 and speculated the world would end. The world would survive. However, my life turned upside down when I lost my one and only daughter. It used to be just my wife and daughter and I, in a small suburban town. Her name was Maya. She was just about to turn 18 and head out for college, but things turned for the worst. Maya and my wife, Irene, we were going out shopping to buy clothes and small decorations for her dorm room. It was a Sunday night, so I was home from work, waiting for both of them to come home. I had received a call that my wife was in due to a car crash. I ran over to the hospital to find my wife, Irene, and no sign of my daughter. The paramedics told me that my wife lost control of the car and had smashed into an electricity pole, and she had hit her head hard, so she won't remember much. I asked the paramedics about my daughter, to which they replied that Irene was the only one in the car. I panicked and persistently told the doctors that my daughter was with her. They must have missed something, and all they said was,
I know you're in shock and you're worried, but your daughter was not in the car. Maybe your wife dropped her off somewhere before the accident?
maybe they were right. I called Maya's cell phone, but the call didn't go through. During this time, my wife regained consciousness, and I ran over to see how she was doing. I asked her how she was feeling, but she looked at me like she'd never seen me before in her life. Irene? Where's Maya? Irene, with vessels in her eyes completely red, stared at me and said,
Who's Maya? And who are you?
The doctors came in and told me once again that she hit her head and she won't remember a thing. Irene was safe in the hospital, but I kept getting more and more worried about Maya. Where could she be? Why can't I reach her by phone? I could have reported to the police. It hadn't been 24 hours yet. I waited at the hospital for the doctors to discharge my wife, all while constantly ringing Maya. I called her two closest friends, but they also said the last thing Maya told them was that she was going shopping with her mother. After 24 hours had passed, I've reported my daughter missing to the police. They told me that they found her, and they said that they already had the car in the crash site and didn't find anyone else. They told me to take my wife home and take care of her. If they had found any new evidence, they would contact me themselves. I went back to the hospital, and the doctor said that they would discharge my wife, as they didn't have any life-threatening injuries. They said she would start remembering things herself, and gave me medication for any headaches she might have. I took my wife home, and ever since, I have been taking care of her. She started remembering my name and her basic everyday life, but she never once remembered anything about that night. 10 years later, she still doesn't remember, and I'm assuming the police file on the case had been closed as well. On the night of May 23rd, 2002, as I write this, I received a phone call, but the number didn't show up. I picked up the phone, and from the other end was a loud static, loud enough for me to suddenly move from the phone away from my ear. Behind the static was a girl's voice, and what it said shocked me.
Hello? Dad? I don't have time, but to leave. Don't for me, Dad. Mom killed me.
It was Maya on the other end. I'm sure of it. It sounded like her. My dead daughter just tried to call me and told me that my wife killed her. She's sleeping soundly in the other room. I don't know what to make of it. Does Irene really not remember? Or is she faking it? Did my wife murder my daughter? If so, I've been living with my daughter's murder for the past 10 years. Maybe I should confront her. I hear her. She's awake and calling for me. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna confront her. If I don't respond, send help. Update. I ended up confronting my wife about it. At first, she continued to act like she didn't know who Maya was. However, a couple hours later, she came to my study and asked me if he contacted me and sold her out, and she's just pacing around the house repeatedly saying,
Sold her soul. Sold her soul. Sold her soul.
I want to take her for a psych evaluation tomorrow. Hopefully they can get me answers out of her. I'm writing this with the last drop of sanity I have left. Last time I spoke to you guys, I had thought of taking my wife Irene in for a psych evaluation. However, today, something weird happened. I saw her put in the pills that the hospital gave me for her headaches into my food. Like, what the fuck? I thought she stopped taking those meds years ago. I don't think she ever was taking them. I think she's been dosing my food to drive me into insanity. I'm not such a tech guy, but I found this application online that records any conversations, converts it into a transcripts and emails to whoever you want. I have given my password to the only friend that I trust, and have told them to upload the exact transcripts to Reddit as an update and a goodbye to you guys if anything happens to me when I confront her.
Hard drive, C, user, laptop, SF51454T. Start, record, and convert.
Irene, how long have you been drugging my food?
Drugging? Oh, you mean your antipsychotics?
My antipsychotics? Stop lying to me! What have you been putting in my food?
Honey, you need to calm down. You have schizophrenia. The medicine I put in your food is to help with that.
You're lying. I took Carrie for 10 years. Our daughter died. You were in a car crash. Don't you remember?
Honey, we never had a daughter. And I'm sick of hearing about this Maya for the past 10 years. Yes, I did have an accident and I was in the hospital, but there was no Maya. You told the cops and the nurses about her, but there was no one.
No, you're lying. You know how I know? Because she told me. She called and told me that you killed her.
Wait, what? Repeat that to yourself. Do you think it makes any sense? Your so-called dead daughter, who I apparently killed, called you and told you that? Listen, I'm trying to help you, but you need to trust me.
Trust you? You're hiding something. I'm perfectly sane and you can't make me think otherwise.
Sane? Like a couple nights ago when you thought the devil was in our house?
I heard you. You kept saying, sold her soul. Sold her soul.
Honey, I wasn't home. I left an attendant here with you, remember? She called me and told me you kept talking to thin air.
No. You're lying.
Everything all right, Irene?
Who's that?
It's nothing. You're hearing things again.
What are you doing with the radio?
The bill. I can't believe I forgot. Hey, Jason, I'm gonna need some help here.
On my way.
Who the hell is just... Ow! What the fuck did you inject me with? I'm gonna fucking get that out of... What did you give me?
Jesus Christ, Irene. You forgot to give him today's dose, didn't you? You know how dangerous that is? What if he finds out we've been experimenting on him with this new drug?
Experiments? That's what they did to my mates in the war. Those goddamn Nazis.
Christ, you were never in the war. Just be careful, Irene. You don't want to have to kill another. Am I right? Once is enough.
Two, you mean?
Battery low.
Right. Sorry. Forgot about the Maya girl. I mean, she was on to you. There's nothing you could have done. The only thing you could have done was kill both of them and start again with him. It was smart, you know. So-called accident happens. A woman survives, but doesn't remember anything. I mean, she didn't survive, but it was a perfect cover-up to help you infiltrate. Oh, shit. Was I not supposed to say that?
Maya.
Don't worry about it. He'll forget soon enough. He'll be straight back to the fantasy he's been living in. I'm almost done with him anyway. I have more than enough data. I'll kill him soon.
Alright, I'll leave you to it. Just be more careful now.
Battery low.
Oh, you should take that face off sometimes. I miss seeing the real you, Ada. You've had that face on for so long that you're starting to think you're actually Irene.
Leave, Jason! You worry about your own experiments. Oh, and fix your face. It's peeling off.
Alright.
Battery critical. Emailing backup to toy@gmail.com. Deleting backup from hard drive user laptop SF51454T. Documents. Voice to text. Finished.
Shutting down PC. I traveled all over the world to seek out the weird and wonderful of black magic. In my travels, I discovered something much more darker, grittier, and horrid. There is nothing pleasant about black magic in poor countries, and it is forced to use for revenge and have an advantage over someone else. You can say the problem with black magic is humans and their greed, jealousy, and psychopathic, leading them to use it for other means. I remember traveling to Bangladesh many years ago, and it was like landing on a different planet, because
Everything was different from culture, religion, and the way they did things. Poverty was everywhere, and it was so normal, and the begging was constant. But at the same time, there were pleasant things like the great views of the farmlands and the nice people that were there. The food was also amazing. I went over there to see the black magic they use and how they did it. And many warned me of its dangers and the dangers of going close to someone who can use it. I spoke to victims of black magic who kept on receiving misfortunes after a lifetime of great success, and the bad luck came over with them, like a gust of wind. The victim had lost everything from his business and even his wife and kids, who had succumbed to the strange sickness no doctor in the world could treat. He was now homeless and had gone a little insane due to his bad experiences. And now and then, he would talk to himself.
I lost everything to black magic. I lost everything, and what did I do to deserve the misfortune that had befallen me?
The man had said as he started to tear up. Can you explain to me what kind of black magic? I tried asking him.
I lost everything because someone cursed me, and now I am no one, and no one knows me.
The man retorted, and I knew I wasn't going to get much out of him. Then something interesting happened, and by chance, I had met the guy who put the curse on him. A note for me was first given to the receptionist at the hotel that I was staying at, and it was the secretive man who put the curse on the other fella. It was telling me where to meet him. I dared myself to meet him, and I don't know what I was expecting for him to be like, but he was just an ordinary man who had managed to put a curse on his ex-employer.
The reason I did it was because I hated working for him, and I was jealous of my ex-boss's life and wanted to ruin him. I do feel bad, but there was nothing I could do now. I guess I still sometimes keep an eye on him for some odd reason.
And he also decided to show me the areas where black magic were being practiced. Then this guy told me something else that has been involved and new in the black magic world.
Something new and exciting has come up in black magic in Bangladesh.
He told me. What is it? I excitedly replied.
It's hard to explain, and best to show you.
He told me. I was instantly interested, and he told me.
There's an event of some kind happening in a large building, which is abandoned now. You should come and check it out.
And he gave me an address. And on the day, I got a taxi to the very place. There was a huge family who were all crying and were all angry. And you can sense their disillusionment in the world. There were some police officer type of people to control the whole event. And there was a man kneeling on the ground being handcuffed. The door to the building had been opened, and everyone went inside, but the man in handcuffs tried to resist a little.
No, please. I don't want to go inside.
The man in handcuffs pleaded and begged.
Get inside the building, you scum!
One police officer shouted at the cuffed man.
Get inside the building, or we will shoot you here right now.
The second police officer had shouted at the man.
Okay, I will go in, please. Don't hurt me.
When we all went inside, the very first thing we noticed was that a room had existed where the whole floor was one big Ouija board. This room was the size of a large living room, and I couldn't believe the floor was being one big Ouija board. And it was beautifully made. There was a bit of space for spectators to watch, and then come to find out from one of the security guards that the guy in handcuffs had murdered his son that belonged to a large family.
That scum murdered the son of a well-known, respected family.
The officer told me.
He is going to be used as something to be used.
Instead of going to prison, the family had decided to use the killer as a planchette for their deceased son to speak to them. I have never heard of such a thing, but fully invested in watching. It all went down, and when it was time to go, the killer tried to beg to the family to not let him be used as a planchette. But you can see not one forgiving soul among them, and especially the mother. He was forced onto the Ouija board, and he started to cry.
Please forgive me for murdering your son. I'm so sorry. Don't use me as a planchette, I beg of you.
The handcuffed man cried out.
Go to hell, you
I hope
piece
you
of
die
crap.
a slow death, or
Go
you're so
to
lucky
hell,
I'm not in there
piece
with
of
you.
crap.
All the family members were shouting out loud to the man in cuffs. He even shouted out to God. Nothing came to help him. Next, the killer, on the floor, started to move around on the Ouija board, but he wasn't making the movements, not voluntarily. Something else was moving him.
Oh no, please, make it stop. I can't control my body.
The handcuffed killer pleaded.
You deserve everything you get, you killer.
One of the family members shouted out loud.
Die! Just die!
Another family member shouted at the killer. You can tell that it was uncomfortable for the man being used as a planchette, and every question the mother was asking her deceased son, the killer's body would be used to go to every specific letter, or to a yes or no. The killer begged him to stop this, and he wasn't enjoying it at all. And the reason why this man killed the son was because he was begging for money, and it was not given to him. Therefore, the son was killed with a knife in the heat of the moment. The killer begged.
You deserve everything you get, killer!
Multiple family members shouted back at him. After 3 hours of this, the family decided they would come back tomorrow, and the killer was asleep on the Ouija board ground. And he was glad the session was over, but it would start again tomorrow. Something looked off with the killer on the Ouija board, and even though I did find it cruel, I had to admit to myself that it was fascinating. I went back to my hotel, not knowing what I was feeling, and I wanted to check it out all over again. And I couldn't sleep because the excitement was too much for me. The next day, at nighttime, we all had to meet up again at the large abandoned building, and the killer had been fed. But when he realized that the second session was about to begin, he started to cry again, begging to the family members to let him go.
Please, someone help me.
Please, there's something wrong with my body. Oh, please forgive me.
The killer begged again. The mother of the deceased son had shouted back at the killer.
You deserve no mercy, and that you should suffer till the end of time.
The second session, the mother had cried out to her deceased son, and the killer's body was being used again as a planchette. And every answer the deceased son gave to his family was a happy moment for everyone. This time, the killer was acting even more unusual. He started to speak in a twisted tongue. He even started to float a bit in the air. And the family were also concerned as the deceased son's message was being disrupted by some force. The killer then floated in the air completely still, and multiple voices were being heard out of him. The killer splurted, and the family members were all laughing. Whatever had invaded his body had ripped his arms and legs, and blood splattered everywhere. The mother cried out to her son.
No, son, speak to us. Say more things to us. Don't leave us.
We were all escorted out. The family waited outside, but the people that were acting as security for the event told everyone to go home, as they were going to clean up the place. The next day, early morning, I wanted to help clean up the event. The security guards allowed me to help clean up, but we all had to wear a scarf around our mouth and nose, and it had a special symbol on it. I had to ask them what the symbol was for. The security guard told me
That when a person is being used as a planchette, the very air we breathe could be swarming with spirits and demons. And sometimes you could breathe them in temporarily and become possessed temporarily.
this scarf was essentially an oxygen mask in a magical sense. And as I helped them clean up the Ouija board room and help them clear the blood and the body bits from the killer, I noticed one security guard had taken off his scarf. It was a hot day, so I couldn't understand why he did that. Then suddenly, I could see him talking and laughing. Then after a while, I saw another security guard just going up to him, laughing with him. Then, the security guard that took off his scarf was laughing to himself and talking to himself. He would also complain to the second security guard to not interrupt him when he was having a conversation.
I'm trying to have a conversation here. Don't interrupt me.
The security guard told the other guard.
Who are you talking to?
The guard replied back. Then everyone had noticed that the security guard had taken off his scarf, was breathing in spirits and demons, and was talking to multiple things. And the other security guard, which was his brother, was trying to make his brother seem normal by laughing with him, to make it as if he wasn't talking to himself. He had to go outside after an hour. The security guard who took off his mask had gone back to normal. Some of these security men were ex-police in Bangladesh, and they had made money off grieving and angry family members who paid them to let them use whoever they wanted to hurt and make him as planchettes. It was a strange way to make money, but I guess in a poor country like Bangladesh, you have to find ways to make money that are not conventional. Bangladesh is rife with corruption and with poverty. It would force anyone to do anything that are not well intended. There are good people and those who help, but at the same time, there is evil right in your face, and the raw animal nature of humans on display. I enjoyed seeing the farmlands and the happy family workers, the children playing, as it felt so natural and something which humans were so more involved to do. I then saw the city rife with murders and crime, and each dark corner black magic. I never thought that I would be so utterly blown away by Bangladesh as I saw a human being used as a planchette. And it will stay with me forever, even though the man was being used as a planchette was a killer. I did feel sorry for him and the way he was used as an object. My time in Bangladesh was coming to an end, and my next country was Turkey, which had more structure and riches. It had more party scenes for any holiday goers. There was black magic scenes among the Turkish people, and I was ready to meet them. At this point, I was ready for anything, and I wanted to see more. To my surprise, what I had seen in Bangladesh with a person being used as a planchette, the same had been developed in Turkey. It's crazy how humans will get all the same idea. And the person who was going to take me to see the black magic areas for a lot of cash was surprised at me for already seeing it. Unlike Bangladesh, this use of humans as planchettes as entertainment in Turkey and rebellious parties goers of their own will and not forced at all to be used as a planchette. The first party I had gone to was in a mansion. The mansion was beautiful and all glittered up, and the alcohol was going around, and there was a huge room on the floor was again one big Ouija board. There were spaces made for watchers and spectators for reveal, and to be amazed at such sight. There was a woman who wanted to be used as a planchette, and she wore special robes, and everyone was scared of her, but also respected her. This was a totally different environment compared to Bangladesh. This woman sat down in the middle of the Ouija board, and random people started to call out whichever spirit was present, and nobody had any kind of grudge. But then, the woman on the Ouija board started to move around on the Ouija board, but it was clear that it wasn't her movements, but something else. The noise she made wasn't fear, but of acceptance, like this was normal.
Karaka, Sambarata, Lurata, Simrata, burning ice cold.
The woman was saying random things.
Death is beautiful and graceful, and a bloody death is better.
The woman started to say as she floated around on the Ouija board. Her body used to go to certain letters, and people writing down what words were being created. And this woman seemed to be taking it a lot better than the guy in Bangladesh. I guess it was because she was more accepting of it. When the words form as a sentence, we all read it.
I am dead, and I will get you all.
I am dead, and I will get you all. And then the woman needed a break. We were all mesmerized, and as the party goers were eating the food and drinking, one guy who was rich had the crazy idea where he wanted to make the whole world one big Ouija board.
Each country would represent a letter, and the pilot would use a planchette.
And people were telling him that he was crazy. He got a bit angry and started telling people off. He even got a little physical and angrily told everyone that.
I will make the world one big Ouija board.
And security had to pull him out very quickly. Then there were some who were worried about the message which was coming up and read it. I am dead, and I will get you all. And I guess they wanted more context and meaning behind the message. When the woman who was being used as a planchette was feeling better, she decided to talk to some of the guests, and unfortunately, she herself didn't understand the message. She was proud and grateful to be used as a planchette, and she found it empowering to be a tool and to send message to and from the afterlife into this life. This was a completely different outlook compared to Bangladesh, and she was almost like a spiritual guru of some sorts. And she told everyone not to fear the Ouija board, and the resistance of the power of the Ouija board is more dangerously compared to being more accepting.
I love being a planchette. It is my world, and it is who I am to let the spirits use my body to communicate to you all. It is a blessing me being here talking to you all. It is not evil or backwards, but a science the world does not yet fully understand.
The woman said to everyone. That could explain the guy in Bangladesh why he was having such a hard time being a planchette. The woman was being ready to be a planchette again, and the spectators call out to the spirits, and the woman's body will go to the same letters which spell out the same sentence.
I am dead and will get to you all.
And even when we weren't reaching out to the spirits, the woman's body was still moving on its own, spelling the same sentence. And suddenly, the woman said,
I will come for you all. I will come for you all. You all are worthless pieces of crap, and it will be the end of you all.
The woman shouted out as she was spinning on the ground on her own. At one point, it looked like the woman wasn't breathing, and her eyes were dead. And we all ran onto the Ouija board, trying to stop her body from being moved. But whatever it was strong. We all got off the Ouija board and started looking at the woman's body being moved by whatever force that was. The sound it was making when being moved on the floor. The sound was horrifying to all of us. Everybody's smile turned upside down, and then her body stopped moving on its own. The woman's body then lifted itself in the air. First, her arm came off and touched one of the spectators. It wouldn't come off. Then, the woman's leg came off and touched to another spectator's head. The woman floating in the air kept shouting out,
I am dead and I will touch all of you.
And then her arm and leg reattached themselves back to the woman. And she went back onto the floor. She was completely fine.
I'm fine. Do not fear me. And the message was right, that I will touch all of you. And I did. It is a blessing what we all witnessed here today. This is amazing and not scary nor ungodly, but a science which is yet to be more refined. Now go home and rest all of us, and delight in what you saw.
The woman told us all. Unfortunately, anyone recording this will be impossible to do, as all electric devices stop working when a human is being used as a planchette. We only have our memories. The woman was completely fine, and she felt more blessed than ever as more activity was being used through her. And the partygoers were hugging her, and they all went home. And then some of the partygoers started to show signs of possession. I then remember what the Bangladesh security guards had told me when they were cleaning up the abandoned building. The air became toxic with spirits. I remember the symbols they had used in the scarf to clear the oxygen for me. And so I found something similar to a scarf and wrote down the symbol and got out of there while wearing it. That was one hell of a party. I remember feeling full of energy back at the hotel, and my head just couldn't stay calm for one moment. 2 different countries were using humans as planchettes, and one was used for punishment while the other was used for entertainment. I don't know what to think. And the Turkish woman definitely handled it as a planchette much better than the guy in Bangladesh. Although the Turkish woman had lifetime of training with black magic, while the Bangladesh man was just some random homeless guy who had committed a crime, and as punishment being used as a planchette against his will. I then thought of the rich guy at the party that wanted to use the whole world as one big Ouija board. I laughed to myself at the idea, and I gave my details at the party to event makers to contact me if they ever do an event like that again. I wanted to see more, and I guess I was blessed to have seen it already. I already left the country and returned to my own in England. I don't know what to think, really, and I really just want to go back and see more of it, and I'm more cautious of black magic than ever. And I was lucky that I haven't been cursed by a jealous individual. I kept thinking about that man in Bangladesh who was being used as a planchette. I kept seeing him in my dreams. As I had saved some money, I had created a room where the floor was one big Ouija board, and I found a man desperate enough to be a planchette. He laid himself on the Ouija board, and I called out to the Bangladesh man who was being forced as a Ouija board. Then suddenly, the guy started to move on the Ouija board on his own. The sentence was kept to be spelled out for what it was. I don't want to do this. And then my guy started to shout out the same thing.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Then he started to float in the air, and his limbs came off of his body. Blood was everywhere. Then it was all silent, and as I got the scarf and put it around my face, I was cleaning up all the blood and body bits. As I was cleaning, all I could think to myself was, I had brought this way of magic to England, and I can make a living off of it. There was a dangerous beast in the woods that followed us home. No, it wasn't a bear or mountain lion. It was a dangerously intelligent creature that took pleasure in our fears. This happened about 5 or 8 years ago. My mom, brother, uncle, Aunt Kay, Aunt Ray. My brother, Aunt Kay, and I decided to go in the backyard woods for a hike. The weather was nice, so we figured it would be a good adventure. The woods stretched 2 miles out in all directions from our cabin. It was like we were the only humans to exist on the planet. Anyways, we traveled a long way out there, and we started to hear something unnatural.
I feel like something's watching me. I don't know what it is, but I don't feel safe for some reason.
My brother and I acknowledged her discomfort, and we just kept watching our backs. 5 minutes went by, and we all decided to return home. As we traveled, I heard something pretty ominous. Silence. There wasn't a single bird chirp, nor a gust of wind. It was as if my ears stopped working. I wasn't the only one that noticed. What's going on? My brother questioned loudly. His voice echoed as if there's no life by, just trees.
Come on, boys. Let's just get back home. It's getting dark.
My aunt ordered us. I thought it was just a natural anomaly, so I just ignored it and continued walking. It was around 5:30 p.m. That's what my watch said. And the sun was starting to lose its bliss radiation every minute. It was around autumn, so it got dark around 6 p.m. Our travel continued, and suddenly, my aunt shushed us. We turned around, and we heard someone yelling for assistance.
Help!
Is anyone there? Please! Help!
I was about to walk to the cries for help, but my aunt placed her hands on my path to stop me.
No. Shh. Listen. The voice. It doesn't sound normal, and it keeps saying the same words.
She said.
Help! Is anyone there? Please! Help!
The cries continued. My brother got scared, so he yelled back.
Who's there?
My aunt got mad and shook my brother loudly.
What the hell did I say? Shh.
My brother was a bit of a coward, so of course he yelled out again.
This is a private property. If you don't leave, I'm gonna call the cops.
My aunt's eyes widened, not from anger, but from fear. The environment remained silent, and we heard something heavy. It was massive. It was like some bear was leaping from tree to tree. I looked down, and I noticed the sunlight on the ground was moving away from us. The sun was now at dusk. Soon, there will only be a luminous light from the moon. My aunt yelled at us to run. We all sprinted together, quickly. Luckily, our family was fit, so we all kept pace with each other. The fear in my aunt's eyes are what kept me to continue to run. I felt like she knew something, but she didn't tell us what. Suddenly, we heard the loudest screech. It was ear-piercing, blood-curdling, and unearthly. It sounded like a dying cat mixed with metal. My body felt hot. I believe my adrenaline was being released into my veins. I ran faster, and my body did not get tired. I believe my family kept up with me. We ran for like 5 minutes, didn't look back. I saw the porch lights in the distance.
We're almost there. Keep pushing.
My brother shouted. My uncle, Aunt Ray, and my mom, they all saw my brother and I rush into the house, panting. They were all equally worried. My uncle, he asked,
Where's Kay?
We turned around and realized we accidentally left our aunt behind while running. We explained to them what happened, and then they called the police. 30 minutes went by. A group of officers came to the scene and asked us where we left our aunt. My brother and I traveled with the police and searched the woods. We found pieces of ripped clothing and blood. We assumed the worst. The lead officer told another to stay with us and to return us home. We had no idea what to do, so we just stayed with our uncle in the living room. My Aunt Ray was pacing a lot, and she said to herself out loud,
To hell with this.
She couldn't wait, so she just left the house without telling us. She didn't give us a chance to yell at her to stop. My Aunt Ray was a bit stubborn lady, so we didn't bother to stop her. An hour later went by. We were all asleep on the couch with our mom and uncle. They both were still awake. We heard banging on the trees, followed by the words outside of our door.
Please, help me open the door.
It was Aunt Ray. We noticed through the door window. We opened the door slowly. She was holding half of our Aunt Kay's body, and Aunt Ray was crying really hard.
Something was following me. I've been standing here for a few minutes, thinking of how to explain this to you all, but then I heard myself talking behind me. That wasn't me yelling for help.
We were all confused. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the entire environment got quiet. We looked at Aunt Ray.
Oh my god!
Aunt Ray released a loud scream that will forever haunt me. She was being dragged back into the woods. We watched in horror as she was being lifted up into the trees, and her screams immediately stopped.
Get to the car!
My mom commanded. We all ran to the car. My uncle drove as fast as he could. He pulled to the side. My uncle called the cops again, and they said they were already nearby. About 5 minutes went by, and we saw siren lights driving past us. My uncle followed behind. We all returned to the house with the cops. We explained that 2 of our aunts were killed by some creature. Then, the woods got quiet. Everyone looked around. We then heard Aunt Ray.
Please help me! I'm stuck! Help me!
The group of cops ran to the cries for help. We looked into the distance and saw my Aunt Ray. She was in a weird pose. Her arms were dangling down, so was her head, and one of her legs was clearly broken. We knew this wasn't our aunt, and my family and I screamed at the same time.
No, don't! No! It's a trap!
One of the cops didn't listen, so he placed his hands on my aunt and asked,
Ma'am, are you okay?
She lifted her head up. It was not my aunt's face. It was a deer skull. The officer wasn't shocked. Before pulling his gun from his holster, the creature lunged on his face and tore him to pieces.
What is that?
The forest was filled with loud pops and sounds of war. The creature was screaming the same sound that I heard way before. My aunt's body was no longer the same. She was transforming. Her skin was peeling off and turned into a larger, thin beast. It roared as it gained its full power. My family and I returned back to the car. I opened the door, and before I entered, I looked and saw the skinwalker was in the progress of killing the policeman while being shot. It looked like the bullets didn't even bother it. I heard bones break, flesh being torn, and groans of pain. I was grabbed by my shirt collar and pulled into the car by my mom. My uncle floored it. We escaped that scene with our lives. Skipped some time in the future. We found out that our names and faces were all over the news for our arrest, because they thought we all killed the police officers, and they couldn't find their bodies, only blood and clothing. So, no charges were made yet, but our house was constantly under surveillance by the government. It was fine by us. At least if it returns, it will be caught on film. To this day, we don't leave our cabin alone, and we stay out of the dark. My favorite time of the day was always bedtime, because that's the time Daddy returns home from work. He's a fireman, and he saves lots and lots of people.
Little Jack, my boy.
He always says when he reaches home. Come on, it's time for bed. He would scoop me up from the floor and carry me all the way to the bed and tuck me in. And he doesn't leave my room until he reads me a bedtime story. One day, however, Mommy got a call in the afternoon. She started crying when she was on the phone. I didn't understand why. When she hung up the phone, she came, sat down next to me. She was still crying, and that made me feel really sad. Mommy? I asked. Mommy, why are you crying? It took her a long time to answer me. By the time she responded, I had already returned back to playing my Lego toys.
Jack, Daddy's not coming home for tonight.
I was confused. What about my bedtime story? Daddy always comes reads me a bedtime story. Is Daddy coming home tomorrow?
Oh, honey.
Mommy still looked very sad, but she was trying to smile a little bit. I could tell.
Honey, I don't know.
That night, I was put into bed early by Mommy. She said she needs some time to herself. She looked very sad and had been crying the whole day. That made me sad too, because she wouldn't tell me why. I think it's something to do with Daddy not coming home, but I don't understand why she's so sad. Daddy would always come home, like always, wouldn't he? The next day, Mommy got even sadder and was crying all the time. Grandma and Grandpa came over to visit and they were both crying too. Nobody told me what's going on. All they did was hug me and say,
Oh, Jack.
over and over again. I think it's something to do with Daddy. I think he's sick. That's why he didn't come home last night. But he's okay now. He just came home. I was already in bed by the time he came into my room, but I was very happy to see him. Daddy, I cried out in glee. Daddy, you're home. Jack, my boy, you gotta be quiet now. We wouldn't want to wake up Mommy, would we? He made a shushy motion with his fingers and climbed into bed next to me. What do you want to read today? I picked the big red tractor, and Daddy read it very well tonight. He did all the voices, and even gave Sally the cow a funny high-pitched voice. It made me giggle. However, Daddy said he had to leave after he finished reading me the story. He said he has to go back to work. He's got a lot more people to save. I was very sad to see him go, but I know he has to. It's okay. He promised he'll be back tomorrow to read me another story. He also said to keep his visits a secret from Mommy too. It'll be fun, he said. It'll be our little secret with each other. I don't really see how it's fun, but I'm okay with it. Every night for the next 2 weeks, Daddy come home like he promised and read me a bedtime story before I slept. One night, however, after finishing his story, Daddy said he had to leave for a long time and couldn't come to see me anymore. Why? I asked. He said he had to go to someplace far to work to save even more people. It's okay, little Jack. Daddy's gonna be far away, but I promise you that I'll be looking out for you all the time, okay? And when the time comes, you'll be able to see me again. And don't worry, I'll be waiting for you. Daddy picked me up from bed and hugged me very tightly. He felt very warm and smelt of smoke, but I didn't care. Don't go, Daddy, I said as I started to cry. I have to, champ. Don't forget what I said, okay? I'll be looking out for you. Daddy had already walked towards the door. See you around, little Jack. Daddy didn't come back after that, but I always felt as if he was always around me. Sometimes, as I sleep, I can feel a slight brush on my forehead, and sometimes I can smell smoke in my room. I'm not scared though, because I know it's Daddy, and he's always watching out for me. No one ever told me that when a heart breaks, it really breaks evenly. I didn't even see it coming. Then out of nowhere, they wanted to break up. This shattered my whole life. Yet they can move on without a second to look back. It feels like they were ready to leave me long before it actually happened. It's not so bad throughout the day, but the silence at night tears into me. I never realized that one could grow to fear something as benign as silence. I pull up to my empty apartment. It looks so normal, just like it did when they lived here. I never understood how much of a difference it makes, knowing that there was someone to come home to. Now, the house sits empty, and all that awaits for me is more silence. Walking inside, I quickly make a beeline to my kitchen. A radio sits by the oven that stays cool and unused since they left. I turn the knob and the radio comes to life. The sound drifts through the house, and it feels just a little bit less empty.
Hello, my name is Alexander Barbatos. I used to work a normal job, like most people, doing basic customer service. But Like most people, working customer service feels less like a life calling and a whole lot more like something I do to not die. When I was younger, my older brothers would often tell me that I had a body built for radio. I don't think they meant it as a compliment, yet here I am, following that childhood calling of being a radio personality. It's not all fun and games. In fact, like most jobs, it can be a real living hell if you know what I mean. Yet, there is something so rewarding about knowing your voice is out there, making a difference while reaching so many ears. Sadly, this job is not for everyone, so there is a rather high turnover rate. And no matter how skilled I am at this job, even I need a break from time to time for things like, well, you know, sleep. But their loss is your opportunity to start a career with more meaning than just seeing if they want fries with their order. Just call us at 1-555-467-7677, and you could become part of the team in no time flat. Hope to be hearing from you soon, so that the world can hear you back, but mostly so I can get a night off. This is DJ Betos signing off.
Listening to the voice, I feel this strange vibration resonate in me, telling me that I could do that. I would be great as a DJ. But no, it's not going to make big life changes when you're suffering from heartache. I go through the 3 S's: shit, shave, and shower before heading to bed. My bed feels so empty and cold. I can't seem to get comfortable. Minutes felt like hours. I finally gave up and went to the kitchen to have a drink, just hoping it would help move things along. The silence is too damn loud. I turn the radio on to fight back.
I know how it can be hell trying to sleep some nights. But you're not alone. This is DJ Betos, keeping your nights chill with our soft, smooth mix for sleeping. Or sleeping, if you know what I mean. We are always here for you, no matter the time, place, or occasion. And just a friendly reminder, you could be here for us too. Just call 1-555-467-7677. We are ready and waiting for you to become one of us.
It feels like he's talking right to me. But I guess anyone would feel this way if they were still awake and listening in. I hold the glass in my hand. Memories racing in my mind. You always thought I was too stiff. You said I might loosen up after a drink or two. Well, here I am. Is this loose enough for you?
This is DJ Betos coming at you with some deep, late-night thoughts. Like, how come you are so focused on that breakup when you could be calling us at 1-555-467-7677 and moving on in your life with a fresh, new, prestigious job. I'll bet it will drive your ex nuts when they hear how happy you are with your new life. Every single morning as they drive to work. Think about it.
What the hell is he talking to me about? I took a deep breath. Okay, calm down. He's probably just replying to a caller, and I just tuned in after the end of the call. I know what you would say, that I'm being ridiculous and that the world doesn't revolve around me. I quickly drained my glass. It burned a path down my throat. Maybe if I drank enough, it could burn the memory of you away.
Hey, this is DJ Betos coming at you with some hot takes. You need to stop drinking to hide from your issues and start drinking to find the courage to call 1-555-467-7677 and start seeing all the possibilities life has for you.
I'm not crazy. Is he talking about me? No. I reached over and pulled the radio's plug out of the socket. I feel like I have to call. A cold chill runs through me. I don't want to call him. My body is moving on its own. I am trapped inside, unable to do anything but watch. I see my body go over to the phone, picking it up. The screen comes to life. I can only observe as my fingers push the numbers. 1, 5, 5, 5, 4, 6, 7, 7, 6, 7, 7. I hear ringing. Don't pick up, 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 don't pick up.
Hey, this is Alex. It sure took a while for you to make the call. We already know that you are perfect for this job. So just show up tonight at 18:30 and I can show you the basics. After that, there is a list of rules. Just follow them, and your night should be as smooth as a DJ's voice. Be seeing you soon.
I guess I have a new job. Maybe this is the change I needed to move on with my life after you. Alex seems so nice and helpful, and wouldn't dream of getting to be on a radio. I guess I'm so lucky. I guess I should sleep up before I start my new job tonight.
This is DJ Betos, here to let you know that we have a new member coming to the family tonight. Get ready to give them a nice, warm welcome. Oh, and one last thing. This message is for you. Yeah, that's right, I'm talking to you. We might have found a new member, but we always need new bodies. So, how about it? Give us your body. Just call us at 1-555-467-7677. I'm looking forward to receiving your call.
Oh, Christ. I muttered to myself as the first flakes of snow started to fall. They gathered in fuzzy clumps over the windshield before my wipers cleared them away. I've been waiting for 20 minutes now, in my sister's driveway. Had I chosen to wait inside with her, I had been dead by now, thanks to her 2 gray cats. Cute little devils, but murdered to my sinuses. Puffy eyes and a clogged up throat. That's just what I needed. Every Christmas, our family made an annual trip to go to my grandparents' cabin tucked away in the woods of Hope, Alaska, and I hoped to beat the heavy snowfall that was forecasted. Since my sister's license was suspended from the DUI, here I was, a hostage to time, with my finger tapped anxiously on the steering wheel. When my mother had asked me to be the one to grab my sister, I had honestly dreaded from the start. It wasn't that we hated one another, we just weren't as close anymore. After decades of constant arguments and bitter disagreements, we became distant, and our relationship fizzled. Yes, we were siblings, but it felt more accurate to call us the residue of what siblings once were. Finally, the gates of Valhalla, her front door opened, and out she came. Her hair was forest green. The last time I had seen her, it had been white. The time before that, it was violet. Got everything? I asked as she clambered her way into the passenger seat. She responded, as she adjusted her glasses and stuffed a few bags into the back seat. And just like that, we were off. Hope was about a 30-minute drive, and it didn't take long for the awkward silence to inflate between us. It didn't help that the radio didn't work in my car, and the broken auxiliary port made your music sound like it was having that seizure. By the time we reached to the turnoff for Hope Highway, the road was turning into a thick white sheet. Thankfully, on Christmas Eve night, a long stretch of Hope's small community was quick and vacant. The cabin was tucked away in a fortress of trees 5 miles off the main road. As I made the turn, my sisters cracked the window, pulled out a blunt, and lit it with their lighter.
Want a hit?
She asked. Snow crunched beneath us. Not now, not while I'm driving.
It's a straight path. We're practically there already.
She took a drag and blew it out the window. I just want to focus on this, alright? She huffed and pushed up her glasses.
If you're that worried, then slow down a bit then.
There was a jab, a piece of bait to lure me into another fight. But I wasn't going to take the bite. Not this time. She could live with us getting there faster. The drive was almost over, and soon I'd be in a warm living room with my feet up, a spiked eggnog in my hand and Bobby Helms' Jingle Bell Rock in the air. I could already hear Uncle Jed spouting off one of his crude jokes. Why does Santa Claus have such a big...
Dude!
My sister shrieked, jabbing a finger into my side and whipping my mind back into the windshield. The car had just finished winding around the thick trail. The large body of reindeer stood in our path, eyes wide open and blank. It didn't move as the high beams found it. Snapped into panic, I twisted the wheels in a desperate swerve. The car veered greasily into the side in a fine spray of slosh. The reindeer, as known as a caribou, remained still, even as the bumper soared inches from its nose. We came into a crunching halt off the main path. Jesus, I sighed, blessed with relief. Did we hit it?
No.
My sister said, leaning out the window to check while exhaling another plume of smoke. I wound the steering wheel back around and pressed on the gas. The wheels shrilled in place, kicking up slobs of sleet, but not moving an inch. Perfect, I moaned, and unfolded myself from the seat to check it out. The 2 front tires were caked with black slush and practically swallowed into the mound of snow. I kicked at it, trying to clear off the ice debris from the threads and beneath the wheel well. When that tired me out, I resorted to scraping off with my fingers.
Screw off, Prancer!
I heard my sister call towards the dark silhouette of the reindeer, its antlers like gnarled fingers reaching for the treetops. Then she made a sort of startled yip, followed by a...
What the hell?
I looked up from the scrim of snow. The reindeer was now standing tall on both of its hind legs. It looked strange, like a silly caricature you see in a kid's book. But out here, in the silence of the woods, it was a creepy image. The way its vague shape stood, just 2 legs held, an almost human-like balance. For whatever reason, I realized that it didn't have a tail. Its muscular neck craned to the side and let out a ululating scream, a miserable squeal of metal grinding against metal. My legs were ice sculptures cementing me into the spot as the shriek quieted into a succession of wet grunts. The reindeer dropped down to his original posture and stomped heavily. Puffs of white vapor and strings of snot vented out of his nostrils. I was no hunter, but it definitely didn't take a lot to tell me that it was a pissed off animal was about to take charge. I leaped for the driver's seat, pulled the door open, and slammed it shut, just as a muffled thud of hooves reached for me. Antlers scraped the door, and his large body practically threw me over the patch I had just been standing in. Fast, very fast. My sister screamed as the large bulk of its frame wound back around and charged again, this time shattering the headlights and submerging us in the darkness.
Just go already!
My sister hollered in my ear. I'm trying, goddammit! I hissed. The wheels continued to spin helplessly. We were trapped. The creature charged again, this time nailing the window. A cobweb of cracked blooms near my sister's head. I searched for anything, literally anything, that I could use as a weapon. I was never really a gun enthusiast, but at that moment, I had shaved my head and joined the secular monks, if it meant having a Glock in my right hand then and there. After rattling the car once more, the reindeer finally appeared to lose interest and disappeared amidst the cluster of trees. Granted some time to breathe and think, we phoned our dad and told him about the situation. He was going to come down in his pickup and get us unstuck out of this mess. I looked over at my sister, who was taking a long and steady heavy breaths between her fingers. Are you alright? I asked.
What do you think?
She grumbled.
I told you slow down.
Another jab, and this time I wasn't going to have it. You want to be useful? Get out there and push. No? Then shut the hell up. I don't need it right now. She said nothing else, and neither did I. Returning once again to the pocket of silence that our relationship succumbed to, the sooner Dad's headlight peeked into the distance, the better. Suddenly, she rolled the window down. What are you doing? I asked.
Shh.
She pursed her lips.
Just listen.
Humoring her, I waited, and sure enough, the sound reached to me. The quiet voice of a little girl coming from outside.
Somebody!
It whimpered.
I'm lost. Please help me. I'm lost.
My sister unlocked the door and motioned to open it. I grabbed her wrist. What are you doing?
There's someone out there.
Just wait a second. It's weird, isn't it? The voice continued to whine, choking between sobs and pleading for someone to help her. I didn't like the way it sounded. The same lasting drawls between words. The same weeping sounds, like someone was hitting repeat on the speaker. Something wasn't right, and my instincts were hoisting red flags left and right. Then, my sister looked at me, and her expression warped into shock. She flung back, pinning both shoulders against the interior. Things that sound like words bubbled up and didn't quite make it out of her throat. I turned and saw what was looking at me. It had the face of a man, surrounded by the mottled fur of Caribou's body. The skin was mummified brown color, wound tightly around its long skull like old crinkled leather. Snowflakes landed upon its wide, expressionless eyes and melted into the dark membranes of its pupils. It circled the car, bobbled its antlers, and fogging up the windows as it peered inside. My heart shook the walls of my throat. I locked eyes with my sister, unable to say anything between the sheer disbelief. I should have grabbed my phone, snapped a photo, recorded a video, anything, but my thoughts were jangled. It then let out the same horrible scream, but I didn't see the tight, contorted lips open. The sound was coming from its neck, Small, fleshy orifices flapping open like mouths were converting the high-pitched shriek into a mimicking cry from a little girl.
Somebody! I'm lost! Please help me! I'm lost!
Headlights glazed the area. My father's pickup came into view, paving its way down the path. The reindeer, or whatever the fuck it was, ran off, vanishing once again into the snow-covered thicket. Nobody believed us. Why would they? If anybody had told me about that story, I would have assumed they were hoped up on some crazy psychedelic. But the reality of what I saw was cold, and it's something I still to this day can't fully swallow. Instead of sleeping that night, my sister and I did some research and led us to the myth of skinwalkers. Beings of some sort, capable of mimicking voices and disguising themselves as animals to lure people into the woods. After reading other accounts, there wasn't a doubt in my mind what we witnessed out there. Every so often that night, I stared out the window and eyed the yard, wondering if I see that leathery face watching me from the tree line. Neither I nor my sister ever made that trip again, much to the frustration of my family. But there was a silver lining. She and I have never been closer. The door opens on their own, parting to create a large gaping hole that seems to beckon me to just go inside. I don't want to go in there, but what I want doesn't matter at this time. The only thing that matters is that it's in there, and I need to get it. The fluorescent lights flicker and hum. I can hear a distant beeping. A bent and shriveled form stands in front of the door. Their sunken, glossy gray eyes twitch over to fix onto me as I enter the building. Their deeply wrinkled face attempts to force a smile, yet it looks like a grimace as he chokes out a raspy greeting. I walk past them, trying to desperately keep my distance as I give them a nod of acknowledgement. The building looked empty, yet I could firmly hear a distant squeaking as something shuffled about just out of my sight. As I endlessly walked down the aisle, I kept seeing a shadowy figure in the corner of my eye. I knew I was getting close to what I needed as I smelt the strong scent of pine wafting by the display of small hanging trees. As the smell faded, I noticed something pungent coming from around the corner. Moving forward, trying to breathe from my mouth to avoid the smell. The box fits in my hand, and it felt like home. Clenching it close to my chest, retracing my steps to the door. It's following me. The smell, the rot. I can feel it getting closer with every step I take. It's worth it. I need this, and they are not going to stop me. Looking down at the box, Twinkle the kid looked up at me and gave me a little wink that seemed to say, "That's right, Mark. I am delicious, and oh, so worth the risk." Music plays crashing over me like a bucket of ice-cold water. My body is attached to my head. My twinkles are gone. My heart is racing. The sound stabs my ears again. My arm slaps at the nightstand, desperately seeking at the end of the sound. Bringing the phone to my head fast enough that I accidentally strike my head with a sharp round corner.
Ow!
I don't remember how that works. All I know is somehow I defied the laws of physics and discovered a way to make a round, sharp corner.
Jesus.
The sound stops mid-ring as I finally answer the call. Hello?
Mark?
What the hell, Aaron? Do you have any idea what time it is?
Oh, gods, Mark. Is that really you?
Hearing his panicked voice helped me wake up like a bucket of ice water. This was not the first time that Aaron needed me to talk him down after taking extracurricular circumstances. Yep, it's me, Aaron. You alright, buddy?
I'm better than you. How did you end up there?
Are you safe?
I think so.
Okay, I need you to take a deep breath and hear me out. Can you do that for me, buddy?
Okay.
Okay, we have worked through this before. Sometimes you have a bad trip. I know you're really experienced on what you remember, but sometimes what you remember didn't actually happen. So I need you to relax and remember that what you're feeling is going to balance out. And the important thing is to not make any decisions till the next day.
So that didn't actually happen. I'm okay. You're okay. It's all going to be okay in the morning.
That's right, buddy. Are you going to be okay for now? I would like to try to get some sleep for work.
Yeah. As long as you're good. Then I'm good too.
All right. Hey, if you're still feeling off tomorrow, we can get together after work. I get off at 5:30 p.m.
Sounds good, man. I hope you get some sleep.
I used to pull all-nighters for fun not that long ago. But damn, getting old sucks. My whole body aches, and I was fighting a headache all day at work. I really don't want to deal with Aaron at the end of the day, but I guess that's the price you pay for friends. Aaron seems like he was back to his old self, hopping out of his car and rushing over to me, literally picking me up to spin me around before sending me back down. Damn! Oh, damn, you're exhausting. But it's good to see you're feeling better. Hey, let's get inside before the neighbors start assuming things. Aaron called out after me as we head inside.
No worries. Your neighbor could clearly tell that I'm way too hot for you.
After we settled down with the drink, I waited for Aaron to get into it.
Do you remember when we were kids and how mysterious life was? Back then, there was magic to be found just around the corner.
Sort of. I mostly remember you getting me into trouble with your harebrained schemes.
Well, it's good to get into trouble from time to time. Look how boring life has gotten since you started acting like an adult.
Life had rather been dull since my 20s. Pushed me into the mindless routine of work, sleep, and repeat. Just maybe, I could find some time on the weekends to possibly relax. The only childish thing I still had hung to was my childhood friend, Aaron. He seemed untouched by time, still staying as a kid in an adult's body. Okay, stop beating around the bush. Just tell me what crazy thing you're trying to make me do this time, just so I can tell you no. His face was priceless, but he tried hard to drop it into a shock and disappointment. Yet, I could see the twitch in the corner of his mouth as he struggled to hide in his oh-so-mischievous grin.
I'm hurt. Words cut deep.
Closing his eyes, he clenched his hand over his chest, dramatically showing how deep his hurt goes. I simply waited, holding back a smile of my own, knowing it would only encourage his theatrics. Eventually, his eyes peeked open to examine my reaction.
Okay, fine. I will just tell you. Not so you can say no, but so you can say yes, and share in the excitement with me. Because what I have found is something no sane man could resist. And unlike me, you, my friend, are a sane man.
He pulled out a folded piece of paper and placed it before me, hand pressed firmly over it, as he looked deeply into my eyes.
This is it. After you see what I have here, there is no going back. Are you ready to face what is hidden within?
I looked into his eyes, mirroring the serious look of his face, and said, nope, I guess I'm not ready for something that intense. I guess I have to back out while I still can. If looks can kill, then the face he made would have acted like a bullet bounced right off Superman's chest to have no effect.
Gods, Marcus, why do you have to be so damn obstinate all the time?
Obstinate. Wow, that's a big word for you. Have you been using the word of the day calendar I got you? Without looking up, he gave me the one finger salute before focusing on unwrapping the paper.
There.
He exclaimed triumphantly while holding up the paper. It was a map drawn in crayon. One big square had the words, "You are here," written inside of it, and a long squiggly line leading to a picture that looks like it was drawn by a third grader showing two people standing by a tent in a campfire holding marshmallows on sticks. And above that, it said, "Destination Fun." Oh, that's very nice. Do you want me to hang this in my fridge?
No. Okay, yes. But that's besides the point. We need to go camping. You have a 3-day weekend coming up, so there's no excuse not to go. Enjoy life for once.
I hate to admit it, but he seemed to have a good point. We haven't gone camping in years, and it would seem like a nice way to get away from it all for a bit. But this is Aaron, and what he says often starts out seeming so reasonable, but then the other shoe would often drop. Taking a deep breath before diving into what could be a mistake. Damn it, he was right. And after hearing the idea that there was no going back. Okay. I'm in. The rest of the week filled me with a mixture of both dreadful and excitement. Aaron had actually planned it all, for once. He had a camping spot picked out, and even had all the food and equipment ready for us to backpack into the wild, like old times. So the only thing left for me to do was finish my work week, hopefully with enough energy to still have some fun. Because Aaron might not be a lot of things, but he was definitely fun. Aaron arrived bright and early Saturday morning. Well, early for him. 11:23. Pulling up, he shouted through the open truck window.
Hey, are you ready to head out into the great unknown?
You know it. I'm just so ready to act like Elsa and head right out to the unknown. Please tell me this is just a figure of speech. You do actually know where we're going, right?
Well, it all depends. Life can be full of so many unexpected twists. Like what happened back in high school when we tried to prank Karen. You remember that, right?
Yep, I remember how your plans would go often and get us in hot water. You better not be planning to do anything crazy this time. Aaron looked at me questioningly for a moment, as if to say, you better not be like this the whole trip. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try to relax, be less negative for the trip. I guess I just forgot how to relax and have fun.
Hey, it's all right. I'm just glad you're here with me.
For a moment, he looked sad, and I really started to wonder how much I had really neglected him.
Besides, you will always have me to remind you how to have fun, right?
The 2-hour drive flew by with Aaron, bringing up memories of the good old days. And by the time I arrived, I felt so much like my old self. I'm actually looking really forward to the weekend.
All right. Get your pack on. It's going to be a hard push if you want to get to the campsite before sunset.
The mountain air carried the fresh scent of pine. My calves burned, and sweat dripped down my back. I felt more alive than I had in the gods who knows how long. For once, I actually think Aaron was right, and I really did need this. We still had some sunlight left after getting to the campsite. Aaron was being abnormally quiet as we set up camp. It feels like he is probably dealing with something, but I know better. And I just have to wait until he's ready to open up.
We still have some sunlight left.
A little, but you know how fast darkness spreads when camping.
I guess. It's not far. Do you think you have a little more walking left in you?
My legs felt like jelly, and I really wanted to relax with a drink by a fire before going to sleep. Yet, there was something in his eyes that felt like this was really important to him. Alright, buddy. As long as it's not far, I have a little more going in me tonight. It felt good to walk through the trees without my pack. I have a terrible sense of direction, but I wasn't worried. I swear, Aaron had a GPS implanted in him by birth. He could find his way back, blindfolded, hopping on one foot. I'm glad you convinced me to do this. I didn't realize how badly I needed it. I got so caught up with everything, and I hardly feel like myself nowadays. And it's good to be reminded of who I am outside of work. Aaron stayed silent as we pressed forward. He was probably gathering his thoughts before telling me what's on his mind. He always did his best thinking while on the move.
It's just around the bend. You go ahead. I'll be right behind you.
Okay. I'll see you around the bend. I moved ahead while following the path Aaron indicated. He better get his thoughts together soon. We don't have much more time before it gets dark. As I turned the bend, I noticed it. The smell. The pine trees were being overpowered by something pungent coming from around the bend. I kept going, trying to breathe through my mouth, yet still tasting its rot. What the hell was up here? I could see in the shadows a body laying among the bushes. Rushing over to it, ignoring the smell, and thinking that I could still do something to help. The face. The body had a face. I froze, looking down at my dead body. This can't be real. How does it have my face? Something was coming up behind me.
Mark. He was a good guy. He could take life so seriously at times that he would forget to live it. That's why he had me. We balanced each other out.
Turning around, I see Aaron coming up behind me, holding the gun in his hand.
I was supposed to have his back. And I was supposed to be there when he needed me.
Aaron, what the fuck is going on?
Shut up! You shut the fuck up. You're not him. I don't know what the hell you are, but you're not him.
This can't be happening. Aaron must have spiked my drink, and this is just a bad trip. Aaron raised his gun at me, stumbling backwards, raising my hands.
Wow! Hey, listen, let's just calm down, okay?
My words were cut off as I tripped over something at the same moment. I heard an ear-shattering crack. Scrambling over the ground on my hand and knees deeper into the woods, I feel a rough ground beneath my palms. I can only focus on getting out of Aaron's sight before standing up and making a run for it. I run until my legs gave out, and my lungs burned desperate for air. Collapsing for exhaustion, I rolled myself under a bush. The light of day fades to darkness, thoughts tearing through my mind, pushing me to the brink of madness. Aaron actually tried to kill me. It's cold. I don't know my way back to camp. I keep hearing Aaron in the distance. He just keeps looking for me.
Not Mark! You're not going to get away with this. It's just a matter of time. I'm going to make you pay for what you did.
His voice is getting closer. It's like he knows where I am. I have to run. It's my only chance. I try to stretch my numb legs as I get ready.
There you are.
I try to run, but all I could manage was a stumbling gait.
This is pathetic. It's too late, and you obviously aren't able to get away this time. Can't you just face your death with some fucking dignity? I bet the real Mark would have.
Move, legs. Damn it, move! My legs get tangled into something, sending me spiraling into the forest ground. I hear Aaron walking behind me. I taste blood and dirt. I smell rot. This is it. He was right. I couldn't run anymore. My best friend is going to kill me. Nothing is happening. Why isn't he shooting? I roll over and look up and see Aaron standing there, gun pointed at me. His eyes stand over in the morning light, wide with shock. I followed his gaze and saw what tipped over. Another dead body. This time, with Aaron's face.
How long have you had these dreams?
2, maybe 3 years now. It's hard to keep track when I'm so damn tired all the time.
What happens in these dreams?
The scenery is always different. One dream I'm inside a lighthouse, and the next I'm back at school. The only thing that stays the same is the Rainbow Man.
Tell me more about this Rainbow Man.
He scares me. I always feel his gaze on me with those rainbow eyes that seem to stare right into my soul. In fact, I can feel him watching me right now.
Why does he scare you?
He hides in my dreams, disguises himself as people I know, and taunts me.
What does he do?
In last night's dream, I was a child again, sitting on a park bench, eating ice cream with my mother. Only, it wasn't really her. It was him. I could tell because her eyes were changing color every time she blinked.
What happened next?
My mother just stared at me with those rainbow eyes. Her mouth began to horribly twist into this mocking grin, revealing horrible shark-like teeth. Then her face began to melt, slowly dripping down her cheeks like hot wax. All the while her eyes were flickering with colors.
Interesting. Do you remember anything else?
That's the thing, I don't. The moment I look into those rainbow eyes, I'm unable to look away. It's like I'm in a trance. I get lost in the rainbow. Then I wake up in a sweat.
You get lost in the rainbow?
It's like I'm looking in a whirlpool of colors that I'm slowly being pulled into. I can feel it draining me. But after it's like all a blur, then I wake up.
It drains you?
Yes, I feel weak. My bones have turned to brittle. And as you can clearly see, my complexion is as gray as corpse. My eyes have sunken, and my teeth have fallen out. I'm only 25, goddammit. The Rainbow Man is slowly killing me.
Do you feel like you are dreaming now?
No. At least, I don't think so.
What makes you so certain?
He would have revealed himself to me by now. It's never long before he shows up.
These are dreams that can never be woken from.
I'm sorry, what?
Some dreams are eternal.
Huh?
Dreams are a gateway into other dimensions. Sometimes you go through the wrong door, and then every time you wake up, you're in another dream.
You're not making any sense.
What I am saying is, you are stuck in an endless loop of dreams, which you will never wake from.
No. Don't say that. It's not true. You're lying.
Have you not wondered?
What?
You really are stupid, aren't you?
Nothing you say make any sense.
Have you not wondered why I have been wearing sunglasses this whole time?
This story takes back when I was a lot younger. I used to live in a small room with weird vibes. The aura just felt different compared to the other rooms in the house. One night, I fell asleep like normal, and I remembered the dream I had. It was so vivid, I truly believe it was real. In this dream, I was in some dimension. Literally no words to describe it, but it was like I was in a different planet, universe, or time dimension. I turned around, and I was placed in a labyrinth-like castle. Reminded me of the Great Wall of China. I tried to find my way out, but I was having difficulty too. Because it was dark, gloomy, gray. It was raining outside. I kept searching through the building, and I decided to look inside this closet. And immediately, there were these eyes. Eyes were just staring at me. The room was dark, but the only thing that was still visible were the eyes. The eyes were big as softballs. They were just staring at me with evil anger brows. Whatever it was in the closet, it just attacked me. It grabbed, scratched, and punched me. So scared. I just tried to close my eyes so I can try to leave this dream world. It's not working. I looked back, and the creature with the floating eyes continued to attack me. Eventually, I woke up. At the time, I forgot about it and continued my day as normal. But the next night, my memory of that creature soon returned. Because I was watching some cartoon episode, so I decided to turn off the TV while I was laying on my futon. I started to have this dark feeling. It was one of those feelings where you truly believe that something dangerous is near you. I had the TV off, but the hallway light was on, so a lot of light was leaking through the room. And I see a figure that had these round, giant eyes, scraggly hair, kind of a rag doll, old woman, and a wide, long, closed mouth that goes from ear to ear, as if it was smiling. I blinked. It reached closer to me. I could see right through it at the same time, but I could picture it so clearly as if it was yesterday. I kept blinking, and eventually it was up to my face. I've never felt like I could picture something more clearly in person, so that's why I knew it was a ghost. It was the same eyes from that night terror I had. This creature was just in my face, staring. I realized this wasn't human size, it was a small creature. I started to breathe rapidly, and I started to pray in my head and cast the foul spirit away from me. As soon as I closed my eyes, I covered myself with a blanket, and it stopped. I removed the blanket, and it's gone. I prayed that night before I went to sleep. It never returned after that. Late one night, I was on the phone with my mom trying to figure out if I could spend a night with one of my buddies. Hey Mom, I just want to ask if I could stay over at my buddy's house for the night, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, sure. Just please don't stay up too late and don't leave the house, okay? And once you're ready for me to pick you up tomorrow, just call me.
As I was on the phone, something felt off. Everything was quiet, like completely. Not a sound. I decided to go look for my buddy. While talking to my mom, I looked through the curtains in his living room and saw that he was outside on his porch. So I just sat down and got done talking to my mom. Okay, Mom, I'll be good. I promise. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. Goodbye.
Bye, sweetheart. I love you too.
After I got done, I walked outside to tell my friend I could stay, but he was not outside anymore. I guess he went around back. I decided to go back inside because I thought he might have went outside the back of the house or something. So I waited until he came in, but when I sat down, I heard a noise from his room. I went to check and he was there. I froze for a second because I asked him, Were you not just outside?
No, I've been inside the whole time. Why you ask?
He said, never mind. I brushed it off thinking it was just my sleep paralysis tricking my brain, but it still felt real. We went about the night like normal, just playing video games until my friend got an idea.
Yo, we should go hiking in the woods. What you think?
It's dark out there, but I'm sure it'll be fine, I said to him. We started to pack some stuff, and by the time we got outside, it was about 11 to 11:30 p.m. So it was dark. We started to walk when I saw the figure that I saw on the porch staring at us from behind the house. I looked at my friend and said, "Look, behind the house. You see that?" But when we both looked back, it was gone.
Bro, you just paranoid. Come on, let's keep going,
he said. In my mind, I was thinking I was just hallucinating, so we kept walking. I turned my flashlight so I could see. I kept looking behind us because I kept hearing things like twigs breaking and trees moving. I think something's following us, I said.
It's just the wind. It's just the wind,
he said. But I thought it wasn't. We kept walking for another 5 minutes until I got tired. Maybe we should turn back around. It's getting late, I said. He said,
good idea. You never know what's in the woods at night.
As we turned around, we both froze completely still. There it is, just staring at us with a big smile. It was the thing I've been seeing. At this moment, I knew I wasn't hallucinating because my friend saw it too.
What the hell? Who's that?
I wanted to run, but the only way back is behind the person. I moved my headlight to see what he was holding, and it was a rusty old hunting knife.
Dude, he has a knife.
He didn't move or speak. He just stood there smiling. It was like he was waiting for us to do something. We took a step back, and he took a step closer to us.
Who are you?
I don't know what to do, I said. I thought of something that I was scared to do, but it helped. I ran full speed and pushed the dude over. We took off to the house. As we ran, we could hear him running behind us. He started to laugh uncontrollably. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, but my phone died before I could call, so we just kept running.
Keep running! He's still behind us.
Don't know what's going on. My phone died. Just keep going. Go. He started to gain on us as we got tired. We were almost there, so we tried to run faster. When we got there, we forgot to lock the door, so we were able to just run straight in. I quickly grabbed the landline and called 911. The operator gave us the usual.
911, what's your emergency?
Some guy is just breaking down through our door right now. Can you please bring someone? The guy tried to stab the door because it was an old door, but it held up. He kept trying to get in, but I wouldn't let him. He kept laughing nonstop. As the cops arrived, the guy didn't even try to run. He just threw the knife and let the cops take him. But as he was being cuffed, he said, "I will be back for y'all." He laughed until he got in the car. When the cops came to question us, they said the knife wheeler owned part of the woods, and he didn't want us on it. We told the cop that doesn't explain why he was in our house before we had the idea of going to the woods. Till this day, my friend makes sure to lock everything, keep a weapon next to him, and have 911 on speed dial every time before he goes to bed. Ever since that night, I have yet to spend a night at this place. Here we go again. I've been chased into the woods by the same guy that tried to kill me a long time ago. I just wish my friend was there with me. It was late one night when I started walking home from school. I had to stay after to make up work I missed. My parents don't know that. I get in so much trouble. It was around 10 p.m. My friend was walking with me because he stayed too.
How long do you think it'll take to get us to your house?
My friend asked me. I don't know. Never walked home before, especially in the dark. I didn't tell my parents I was going to be late with homework. They'd kill me if they knew. I just told them that I was at your house, I suggested to my friend.
Oh, that's cool. My parents aren't even home, so I'll just go along with whatever you said if your parents ask me.
We walked for about 10 minutes on the side of the road that was usually busy during the day, but I didn't notice a single car since I traveled with my friend. We continued with our little adventure, kicking rocks, smacking road signs, and being amazed at what the road looked like at night when I'm used to it seeing the daytime. As I kicked my last rock, I looked ahead of me and saw the tree in front of me lit up by a car light. Naturally, we turned around and saw a mid-2000 Ford coupe. It drove over the road hill. At first we didn't mind the car, so my friend and I just stayed quiet and continued walking. But at that point, I noticed the car slowed down and stopped about 100 feet in front of us.
What do you think they're doing?
My friend asked me. Before I can answer, the car, it switched its gears to reverse and sped back towards us, like literally to our human bodies expecting a collision. I pushed my friend really hard on his left side and followed his fall into the ditch that was on the other side of the road. We both quickly recovered and wiped our hands from the mud. Oh man! My friend and I ran along the road. We heard the car make a fast U-turn. Not sure if he's trying to intimidate us with the car screeching on the road, but he was following us. We didn't want to lead him to our house, so we tried to lose him, but there was nowhere to go but straight. As we ran, we could hear the person shout out of the car window.
Come on! Stop running, let's have a shot!
Hell no!
My friend yelled back with anger. If you don't leave us alone, I'll have to call the cops! I yelled back. I don't think he cared because he had a big smile, just continued to follow. I showed the driver that I had my phone dialing 911. He just stared, smiled, and laughed quietly with wide eyes. My phone rang, and it was to an operator from the police department. I stayed on the phone while running, told them what was happening, and where we were.
The closest officer is 10 minutes away,
the man said. I quietly relayed what the operator told me to my friend. He cursed in his whispered yell.
No, 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 no! God damn it! How could this happen? Why is everyone away from us?
Just keep running. We don't have a choice. My friend showed a tired face, and his run started to slow down. I didn't want him to be left behind by himself, so I slowed down with him. The person in the car shouted,
"Y'all out of bread yet?"
As he laughed, it hit me. recognized that voice and that laugh. I told my friend to stop and to trust me and just go along with what I say.
You are dumb if you think I'm gonna stop running.
My friend said to me. He ran faster and left me. I felt betrayed by my friend leaving me behind. But my curiosity kept me from yelling out curse words to my cowardice friend. I stayed for one reason, and one reason only, to figure out what this dude wants. The car stopped in front of me, and the guy got out of the car. The streetlights slowly revealed him. I saw his face. He just stared at me with this big smile. The man then spoke out loud.
Do you remember me?
He asked me. He laughed out loud again. Once I saw his face in the streetlight, I remember exactly who he was, just by the sound of that menacing laugh. My friend was long gone. I had to make up a quick plan to get this guy to tell me his reasons. I just ran into the dense woods. The man followed behind.
What do you want from me? What did I do?
I yelled back.
You were on my property. Nobody gets away with it.
He yelled with murderous joy.
I thought you were in jail.
I yelled back. I saw a vehicle pull up behind his car, but he didn't seem to notice. The door opened. I wasn't sure if he had an accomplice, so I took a 50-50 chance and juked past my chaser. Ran back to the other stranger's car. As I got closer, with this maniac on my tail, what revealed was something that I did not expect. The mysterious man by the car was a police officer. I noticed the light on top of the police officer's car. The officer ran towards me, pulled out his taser. He noticed I was a young teen, so he let me run past him. I ran into the car, slamming myself. I quickly turned and saw the officer protected me, shielding me with his arms and body.
Stop! Get on the ground before I tase you!
My chaser didn't stop his run. He charged faster at the officer with a wide grin and eyes. The officer tased the man. I've never seen someone get tased before. It was strange how two thin wires could stop a full-grown man. The officer arrested the guy, took him inside the cruiser. The man knocked on the window with his head, trying to get my attention. I looked, and I barely heard him, but knew exactly what he said.
I will be back, y'all.
He laughed out loud. The officer pulled me away. He called my parents, and they came to pick me up right away. I told the cop that I won't walk myself home from school again. So, still, to this day, I've been wondering how that crazy man got out of jail. I hope we never have to meet him again, because I'm not sure what I will do. About a year ago or so, I was getting ready for bed when my head started to hurt. I brushed it off and went to bed around 1 in the morning. I woke up and I couldn't move. All I could do was look around. I couldn't speak or do anything but just look. As I searched around, I was confused and scared as why I couldn't move. I thought I was dreaming or something, so I tried to sleep. After sitting there for what seemed like ages, I finally fell asleep. When I woke up the next morning, I didn't tell anyone because I thought it was just a dream or something. I felt weird, but the day went on normal. When I was getting ready for bed that night, my head didn't hurt, but I still felt weird. I laid down for bed and fell asleep around 10 p.m. I woke up for no reason. And the same thing happened, but this time it was different. When I woke up, I still couldn't move. I heard something whispering to me. It was whispering around me. I was scared, and I just want to cover up and not think about it. The whispers got louder and louder. until they stopped. I started to look around after the whispers stopped. Everything seemed normal until I looked at the corner of the room. There was a tall, shadow figure just standing there. I locked eyes with it. I couldn't look away from fear. I was afraid of looking away because every time I look away, it moves closer. After staring at this thing for like 10 minutes, my eyes got really tired. I was struggling to keep my eyes open. I woke up and it was morning. I fell asleep, I guess. I said under my breath. This kept happening over and over again until one day, the figure was gone. I still couldn't move, but it was gone just after that day. I never saw it again until here recently. I fell asleep and woke up like normal, but when I woke up, it was back, but it was near my bed this time. It seems it doesn't want to get closer, but all I want to do is just stare and disappear every time I get back up. I always think of myself, how long would this thing watch me for? I have to deal with it, but I'm still wondering if this is something like a dream or not.
In 1994, we rented a house in the urban part of St. Louis City. Houses are equally spaced apart, and each lot has a rectangle shape with 8 houses in between them. We stayed in one of the houses for a while. My wife was pregnant at the time with my first son. I was getting ready for bed. My wife asked me to get her some water because she was getting a headache. After I gave her some water, I heard somebody crying outside. A woman, from the sound of it. My wife asked me to check it out. I looked through the front window and I didn't see anything. I heard her still, but there was no sign of anyone. I opened the door and checked. I figured somebody was hurt or high on drugs, so I had to check and see why they were on my property. I still hear her crying. I called out for her. Hello? Anyone here? I offered to help her, but she didn't reply. Just continued crying. I went back inside and checked through the windows, and I didn't hear anything. Just complete silence. So silent, I didn't even hear any ambience of a fridge or a housefly. I thought it was strange. Until eventually I hear her crying again. I followed the crying and I still didn't see anyone. I continued walking and listened to this woman sob. Then something happened. This became the most chilling memory yet. She started to laugh. Not the laugh from a funny joke. It was a laugh of evil. Instead of me following this crying woman, she was now following me, laughing. I got chills. I ran home, locking the door behind me, still hearing the laugh outside from the front door. I ran through my house, reached my bedroom. I slammed the door behind me and jumped into my bed, with my wife confused about what happened. I heard a tap on my window. I looked and heard the woman laughing loudly for 2 minutes straight. She sounded so clear, as if she's in the room. I didn't see anyone, just voice. Then, it stopped. The sound of ambience of my house is back to normal. My wife heard the whole thing. We both were shaken up. We left the lights on and went back to sleep.
I normally work second shift, 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. as a server at the Waffle House on Shallowford Road. Sometimes I'll stay late when third shift doesn't show up on time, or when there's still some side work that needs to be done. I got asked by one of my managers if I can cook at the Waffle House on Bonnie Oaks for my second shift. It was supposed to be my off day. Usually I say no because I really hate working at that store because hardly any customers on second shift over there, which means hardly any tips. But I agree because it was a cook, not to serve. I've never been officially trained as a cook, but the guys I had as my cooks taught me enough to keep up with them as main cooks on my first shift, which is the busiest out of all of them, except on weekends for my third shift, which they are the busiest. Well, I agreed, also because it meant to be paid more, and I needed the money. I was living at home with my son and his father at the time. My mother and brothers had to move out and went to Indiana with my grandmother. So, all of the bills were put onto me, and a family friend went to help with the difference that I couldn't come up with. I was the only one working, and only one with a phone in the house. The day comes, and I get ready as usual, dreading to go to that store, but I do it anyways. The day starts off easy. I get all the side work done. The eggs racked, hash browns strained, the waffle mix is made, just the usual cook stuff. The one server was being weird and on her phone all night, which I guess is normal for them since they really don't get busy. There aren't any managers on second or third shifts, so the cook is technically manager on duty. I noticed she hasn't made a cash drop in a while, and I mentioned something to her that she needs to put some money in the safe, so when Emily, our manager, comes in and she won't get pissed off that a drop wasn't made. Emily was coming in because our third shift called and said he wasn't going to be there on time, and I couldn't stay over because I had to pick up our family friend's daughter from work that was 30 minutes away. At this time I was smoking cigarettes, so I went to go out and smoked while we had no customers. Around 7ish, a man had walked up to me asking if I was over 21, which I was, and proceeded to ask if I would help him check into the hotel that was right behind us. I told him I couldn't do that. I wasn't allowed to leave the parking lot because I was the cook, and I really didn't want to do that. He just asked questions about the store, in that he was looking for a job. I did my best to explain to him what each one had to go. Got really friendly with the server inside. I figured they knew each other because they were just laughing and talking, and he finally left. So I figured I should get ready to leave. She asked me if I would stay a little longer while she got ready to swap out the drawers for the next shift since she was there. I said sure, since I technically had about 10 minutes until I was clocked out. As I was getting ready to leave, Emily was at the register getting ready to pull the drawer out, and a man came in with a gun. It was a small, gray, silver pistol. He had on a black ski mask and a very deep voice. He started yelling at everyone to get on the ground, and I was just kind of frozen in the moment. He pointed at me and Emily and yelled at me to get on the floor with the hands away from my pockets and for Emily to open the drawer and give him all the money. She tried to get to the register, open it as fast as she could. He was just shaking the gun around and still yelling at her to move faster. She got it all in the bag and gave it to him, and he takes off running. She grabs the phone and calls 911. The cops showed up about 5 minutes later, and they showed up fast. They questioned us all. I had told about the man that was asking so many questions, and how he was built the same way as the guy with the gun, and how their voices were similar, but the guy with the gun was just a little deeper. Emily was trying her best to stay calm. Me and the two customers were in the store crying. The girl that I thought was being weird didn't even seem to be fazed at all. She was actually on the phone laughing. I called my mom 4 times and she never answered, which made me panic more. So I called Dave, the family friend, told him what happened while bawling my eyes out, shaking so much, terrified. Told him I was going to be late picking up Mandy. He called Mandy and told her to keep an eye on me on the way back to his house. Finally, after about 15 minutes, the officer said I was good to go. I sat in my car for a second, but felt like forever. Then I left, still shaking and crying. I finally stopped crying before I pulled over to her work, but I couldn't stop shaking. We didn't talk the whole way back to the house. I go inside to Dave sitting in his living room waiting for us, and he just hugs me, and I started crying again. I have never been so scared before. I really thought I could have died if Emily didn't move fast enough. I didn't know what was going to happen. Once I got home, all I could do was sit there and hold on to my son crying, because I was so scared I wasn't going to see him again. To this day, I still believe that girl was in on it the whole thing. Knowing Emily doesn't have keys to the safe, so keeping the money in the register seemed way too calm for the whole situation. But there was never any proof, and I don't know if the guy was ever caught either. I do know that I never wanted to go back to that store again. My boss let me off for the next 2 days to calm down and relax after the situation, but then wanted me to go back. I couldn't, but I had no choice. Every time I had to go to work to that store, I could never be calm. I kept the phone in my pocket at all times to call 911 if needed. It was just always on the edge of my seat. So, my girlfriend Jessica and I were laying on our bed watching a TV show called Marco Polo on Netflix. And as we were both deep into concentration on the TV, out of nowhere, in her closet on top of this table, as if we heard something heavy being pushed onto it, and we turned our heads to look. We were at different angles, so from my point of view, it would look like something was black on the table, moving, and it just vanished. Note, I did not look away the whole time. From Jessica's point of view, she didn't have this piece of the table prohibiting her view like I did. And she saw the same black figure hovering above the table, and it went into the table and disappeared. I even went over to check everything and nothing was moved. The air in the closet felt stagnant and freezing. When I touched the things on the table to see if it would create the same noise we heard, they were freezing to the touch, and nothing sounded like that noise that we heard. Oh, I forgot to mention, right after that I touched the first object, instantly the hairs of my body stood all the way up, and I got this very uneasy feeling of being watched. Regardless though, I went to sleep as normal. My family and I moved to a new house. It was a nice and quiet neighborhood. My mom hired a stay-at-home nanny for the 2 younger sisters. Since my mom needed help to take care of all 4 of us, we had a few nannies who left since we moved to our new house. But before they left, they all said they saw someone or something. The first nanny said she saw a shadow touching her hair from behind while she was in the kitchen alone. She thought it was one of the sisters, but when she looked out the window, my sisters were playing outside. The second one said that she saw a man outside the window, but when she took a quick second look, he vanished. The others said something similar too, like they saw a woman's shadow or feel someone's presence, even when they were home alone. My mom decided to talk to the previous owner of the house. He said human bones were buried there not long ago. No one really knows what happened. We don't have any more nannies now, but we always hear something fall in the kitchen every night. We just learn to ignore it. As long as they don't hurt us, we'll leave them be. This happened to me when I was a kid. My family and I moved to a new apartment that time. I shared a room with my older sister, and I liked it because I didn't like sleeping alone. My sister and I liked staying up late, just to play and talk. My mom didn't like that, so she always forced us to sleep early. One night, everyone was already asleep. I couldn't sleep, although I was forcing myself to. I opened my eyes, and it was dark. I could still see my sister standing next to the door. She was wearing her white school t-shirt that she hasn't worn in a long time. She just stood there, facing me. I called her name, but she didn't answer. I continued looking at her, and I realized I couldn't see her face because it was covered by her long hair. I was weirded out, so I decided to just let her be and went back to sleep. As I lay down, I faced to my right side and saw my sister on the bed, sleeping. I got scared and immediately covered myself in a blanket, closing my eyes, and forced myself to sleep. The next morning, I told my family what happened. My mom immediately threw away my sister's white school t-shirt, and we all started praying. I'm not sure what that did, but nothing happened again after that. Back into high school in the 90s, I was an artsy goth kid. Photography was a cool class to take back then. We were able to hang out in the dark room all class. As a goth kid, I would check out haunted sites, and most of them were graveyards. I was respectful when I go to take photos. Most of my family is buried at the Resurrection Cemetery, which is a famously haunted graveyard located in Illinois. So, I knew how it feels when people are disrespectful when visiting places like that. My first incident was when I took photos just next door to my parents' house. My family lives in an average middle-class subdivision, but on the outside, with the subdivision wrapped around, is an old graveyard. As a photography project, I took one of my friends there to do a photo shoot. We did a few by the gates because they were broken, so it looked like a cool spot to shoot. As it got darker, I wanted to use the film what I had left so I can go develop it in class next day. We ran into a headstone that has been knocked down and it's cracked. It looked like it's been knocked down for a while since the headstone was sunk into the ground. So far, it looked like it was part of the sidewalk. I went to take some photos, but my light wasn't working. Everything else was working fine. So I tried 2 more times and no light. There were no street lights because the cemetery was built on a hill covering any light from the houses around it. I assumed my last 2 photos were just going to be black. At that point, my friend and I called it a night. I get to class the next day, ready to develop my photo shoot. My friend and I were talking about what we did in our shoot. I told him about my light breaking, and the last 3 photos were probably pitch black. Our project was to use the whole roll. I was sure my teacher was going to take points off for the missing photos. We all started to process the negatives. Class was starting to end, and I finished early. I went to take a look at my negatives, and there was something in the 3 photos that I took with no light. My friend said they will help develop all 3 in time, so we can take a better look. One by one, we revealed a perfect yet tiny bit non-focus photo of the gravestone. The photos looked like someone had shined a flashlight in the middle of the gravestone. The first photo had 3 orbs with trails from the grass to the sky. The second photo had only 2 orbs, and the last one only had 1 orb. We stood there creeped out. This was next to my home. I never went back since. You would think I learned my lesson in the graveyards. Not me. I decided to do a video and photo shoot over the Bachelor Grove Cemetery. It is another famously haunted place. I lived in the middle of a lot of haunted places. I started collecting all of my equipment and made sure our batteries were charged and that we had backup. Because in the 90s, it did not last long. The place that we filmed was the path walking to the graveyard. Then I would take these photos inside. Everything was packed and ready to go. So we drove in the park preserved across the street from the path leading to the graveyard. You could not trespass, so we had to go fast and get across. I grabbed everything we could across the street. Everything was clear. I get out my video camera and start to film over the hauntings and lores of the graveyard. The closer we got to the graveyard, the lower my battery gets. It's a 2-minute walk to the main gates. We get to the gates and my camera turns off. I go replace the battery, and nothing's happening. I figure it was fine. I have the footage from before this moment. I can use that. I take out my camera now. Someone had hung a bunch of doll heads all over the trees. The graveyard was known for people going in and desecrating the graves. I go and take a few photos and everything looks great. Until I took a photo of the infant daughter grave. My camera just jammed. As soon as I pressed down, it felt like someone slapped the camera towards my face. After that, my camera didn't work. I go the next day to take it to the camera store to get the film developed and camera fixed. I get to the store and the guy asked me where I went with the camera, and I asked why. He told me that the mirror was so jammed that it broke, and jammed more. It destroyed any photos it had because it was exposed to anything that's light. I told the store dude where I went and what happened, because before I went to the camera store, my friend and I checked the film footage to find nothing, just gray screen. You can hear us, but all you saw was gray. The store dude just stood there laughing and telling me I was lying. I didn't care if he didn't believe me, because the one thing I did know was I'm not going back there again.
Saturday night, 10 p.m., 2008. Summer is a time to stay up late, watch movies, and enjoy the time to sleep in. Not me. I end up babysitting instead.
Did you place the scissors open under your pillow?
My cousin said in a whisper. I did not understand what the other voice meant as I was placing the blanket over his youngest daughter that was ready to sleep.
It's a full moon, and she never misses her chance during a full moon.
The voice said again in a whisper. I turned the corner and entered the room as my older guy cousin was explaining to his eldest daughter about a watering technique for full moon witches. He was familiar with these techniques because his great-grandma was a secular witch, the good witch, as he stated. Normally I would laugh at the thought of witches because they were just stories to get children to sleep early, but the fear in his eyes kept my mouth glued shut. He hugged his daughter and walked me to the guest room. He placed a small light at the end of the bed and passed me the TV remote. Sleep when you want, just make sure to keep this light on and never unlock the downstairs front door, he said. The alarm clock hits 1 a.m. and the credits to the Silent Hill movie fill the screen. I figured everyone is asleep by now, so I tiptoed to the restroom. Every light in the house is blinding, so I had to turn it off before opening the door so I would not wake up two little girls that were already asleep upstairs. As I opened the door, I bit my hand to prevent a loud scream that would escape my mouth. The youngest girl stood in front of the door with her eyes shut and grinning that covered half of her face. She pointed downstairs, still asleep, and ran. I heard of sleepwalking, but I've never seen anything like this. I tried my best to rush downstairs, turn on every light that crossed my path. When I reached the bottom of the stairs, I could see the little girl banging her body into the front door, trying to force her way through. Grinning as she did, I froze and didn't move until my legs rushed on their own. "Don't touch her," my cousin shouted. He placed his hand where the head dented the door and asked that I go back upstairs. His pregnant wife took my hand and slowly led me upstairs. After a few more hits to the hand, the little girl fell to the floor. He lifted her body and placed her on the sofa. A small chant broke the silence of the room as he mumbled, "Cursed with having only daughters until she takes one away."
This is a true story by your very own narrator. What I'm about to tell you is 100% true. When I was 5 years old, in the year 2000, I lived in the urban part of St. Louis City. I lived in a small 2-story apartment that has its own property sharing 3 other neighbors. My father told my mom that he's been seeing a black dog. One night, he he was taking a shower. As he stepped out to wipe his face, as he was wiping his forehead, he heard a growl. He said he saw a Rottweiler-shaped black dog with glowing red eyes at the doorframe of the bathroom. He said something that we all would say.
What the fuck?
My father wiped his face again, and the dog was no longer there. When I was a kid, I don't remember much, but I don't remember my dad mentioning this to me. But all I remember was it was being nighttime, and I was asleep on my bed when I heard something walking in the dark in my room. I heard a deep rumble of a dog growl. I looked to my left, and I saw a big, black shadow dog walking slowly towards me with confidence. I saw its face. Its red eyes shocked me. I didn't move. I was scared. It then licked my face, and I fell asleep. This was the most vivid dream I had. I still remember to this day, as it was my most fearful one yet. I was standing in the middle of some backyard. The house was a single-story family home. The sky was piss yellow, but everything else was normal. But what wasn't normal was when I turned around to see the back door of the house was the black dog looking at me. It looked pissed. I remember running, and it started to chase. Every step I took was quick. I juked it to try to run to the back door, but the door was locked. I freaked as I saw the dog approaching closer. I jumped off the concrete ground and ran on top of some metal trash cans. I, of course, fell. I quickly got up and noticed a toy playhouse that's for kids. I bolted to the toy house. I heard the dog barking and breathing behind me. I reached the toy building. I closed the toy door behind me. The dog ran into the toy house, moving in the process. It barked and rammed, and it started to speak in a deep tone. It may sound funny to others, but it literally said, I don't know if I misheard it, but it sounded something exactly like that. For some reason my right foot was in reach of the dog's mouth, so it bit me. I screamed in pain as it growled and thrashed. I woke up, panicking, and grabbed my right foot. I was sweating and breathing heavy. I noticed a birthmark on the bottom of my foot, but that shouldn't be related to anything, right? So, that's my story about the black dog. Later in high school life, I saw a book of mythical creatures and monsters, and saw the lore of the black dog. It showed a map of activity, and I swear, the red affected area reached to St. Louis. I asked my dad more about it, and he told me that the apartment and the large plot of land that we lived in actually was used as a warehouse to hold black slaves back then, when slavery was still a thing. I hope this doesn't find me after revealing the story.
Isn't it funny when we were kids, we thought the horrible monsters in our closet would get us? I thought so too, until that night. I thought that weekend would be fantastic. My family was leaving for a camping trip without me, so that I could get some work done in peace. So I would have this 2-story house all to myself. My children were sad about it, and I couldn't blame them. I barely get them to understand why I had to do what I had to do. My wife tried to calm me down as I helped her pack up everything in the car. After bribing them with snacks and being able to play with them in the park when they arrived back from the campground, they quickly hopped into the car and waited for their amazing mother to get in and drive. My wife and I laughed at this as we kissed goodbye. I thanked her multiple times for understanding, and she, of course, joked about how I owe her big for this, and that I need to go with them next time. I told her how much I hoped that I could, but my work had to get done. With that, they drove off. This left me with the house, housework, and my pets to myself. I suppose I can continue the story. I need to at least tell you what I do for a living. I'm a delivery driver at night and a writer by day. Unfortunately, my writing career hasn't taken off quite yet, hence why I needed this job until then. Part of the problem was that I would get a chapter written and then get writer's block, hence why my wife wanted me to go with them this weekend. She figured it would help, but I assured her that it wasn't going to help and that it would be okay. That night after I got home from work, I was too tired to even try to write despite how much I truly wanted to. My cat bothered me for food, so I fed her and went to bed. I locked the doors and walked around the house for the last time that night before I went to sleep. I quickly fell into a deep sleep until I heard a gentle knock on my closed closet door. I woke up and checked my phone for the time. It showed 2:45 a.m. I tried to listen to it again, but barely heard it. Then the noise proceeded to get louder as I arose from my bed, believing to it simply being my cat, somehow, getting stuck in the closet again. However, I was paralyzed by fear as when I looked down at the edge of my bed, my cat was by my feet sound asleep. The tapping, however, grew a bit louder behind my closed closet door. My cat barely responded to the noise, so I thought I had been hallucinating. Maybe the combination of listening to horror narrations and the lack of sleep were finally getting to me. It's what I had thought. Even the cat jumped from the bed from the thumps against the closet door. I then shouted, "What the hell?" My cat, Carmel, and I stared at the door. It felt like time dragged on, its heels as I almost begged for it to have been something in the closet falling to the ground. I would feel stupid about it, but at least I knew I would be safe. Carmel left the room, leaving just me and whatever was behind the door. The adrenaline was wearing off around 3 a.m. As I felt my eyes getting heavy, I told myself that I would check whatever fell in the morning, and made the mistake of going back to sleep. My head touched a pillow, and I was only asleep for a few minutes when I heard a blood-curdling scream coming from my closet as the doorknob to the closet was practically being forced off. I jolted up and grabbed the nearest thing to protect myself from the creature. I knew it wouldn't be enough, but something was better than nothing. The thing behind the door began to bang on it over and over again as my eyes widened. The closet gave off the shape of an unknown man screaming for his life, but what scared me more was the indentation of some hideous creature feeding on the man's neck. No door should have been able to give off such a gruesome sight, and yet it did. As the creature fed upon the man, I could hear the flesh and bone being ripped away as the man stopped screaming. It was then that everything went silent. The following morning, I hoped and prayed that it was all just some freaky dream. However, as I slowly opened the closet door, a black duffel bag was on the floor. It had a knife, a gun, and some rope, and what I could only assume to be chloroform. Everything else seemed to be as I left the night before. Then, I saw what looked like to be a cell phone in the unzipped side pocket of the bag. When I saw it, I became as white as a ghost, and my blood felt as cold as ice. It was my wife calling. I didn't answer, but I did look through the call logs and texts. The text messages showed that my wife was seeing whoever it was that was in my closet last night. They had planned out my death, and she was getting worried if the man Brandon was okay. I searched deeper into the closet, but didn't see anything. However, something whispered in my ear.
Don't worry. She's next.
I know my wife cheated on me and wanted me dead. but it was the kids that I was worried about. I tried to stop the creature, but it disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the creature that just saved me disappeared into thin air. I wish I could say that I was brave enough to have gone after the creature, but I didn't. Instead, my plan was to just wait it out. Unfortunately, I didn't have to wait long. I got a call that following night from my in-laws, and then a follow-up call with the police. They said that my wife was randomly deciding to take a walk after my son got into a heated argument with her. They had gone to look for her for hours, but hadn't found her until an hour ago. Somehow, she got mauled by a large animal. However, what left the police unsure if it was an animal that just got her killed was that what was written on the trees next to her. That which has failed to kill must be punished in blood and fear. The police wonder if I knew anything about it, but I honestly didn't. I lawyered up, just in case the cops tried to pin this on me, but they never did. Instead, it's now become a cold case. So many questions ring into my head. Like, why would she cheat on me? Who was the guy that tried to kill me? What the fuck was that creature? And most importantly, what would have happened to me if both my wife and that random stranger had succeeded in killing me? I thought this all behind me the second I gathered my children and took them home. I know things won't be the same, but I had hope for some sort of normalcy that would prove not to be the case as I made the mistake and look at my dark and open closet. Fuck, I said, trembling as I felt. I was going to piss my pants. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. But to feel that it would be my last mistake.
I'm not here to kill you. Just to make a simple offer.
What offer? And in that moment, he tossed the man out of the closet. He looked beaten and badly clawed up, as if he was attacked by a large cat and barely made it alive to tell a tale.
Kill him any way you like, and I'll give you a new life. One with no kids who are traumatized by the loss of their mother or a cheating wife that tried to kill you. Take his life, and it'll be like you took away the pain of both you and your children.
Part of me wanted to ask the cliche question of what would happen if I didn't. But the creature that was so tall that he had to lurch under the wooden doorframe of my closet to speak to me, with its glowing yellow eyes, scared me to the point where I couldn't speak.
You are wondering why I'm doing this. Rest assured, there's no strings to this. I'm just punishing a failure who made a bargain with me. They made a bargain. Your life for a life, all to themselves, with no one able to punish them for it. Such fools.
Suddenly, a long, well-kept knife appeared in my hands.
Time's ticking, Dimitri. Do it.
What choice do I have? A fresh start? Revenge on the bastard who was sleeping with my wife? And my kids who wouldn't feel pain anymore? How could anyone pass it up? I walked up to the man and hesitated for a bit as he started to beg for his life so weakly that I could barely hear him. As I plunged the knife deep into his abdomen, I whispered into his ears, "Say hi to my wife in hell for me." True to the creature's word, that life was erased. I had no children, or a wife that wanted me dead. However, as I walked around outside to clear my head, not to be in the house anymore, I realized my mistake. I found myself crumbling. Brandon and my wife in the past life were happily walking down the street with what used to be my children. I wanted to break down crying and screaming, but I knew there was no use. Brandon and Alyssa had won. For now, anyway. Now, if you excuse me, I have to do some research to continue. I wanted to make a deal on my own soon. And it looks like the knife I used on Brennan is being sold at the antique shop not too far from here.
Good night. Farewell. And remember, don't get lost in the dark.